Hello, and welcome to the Overwatch Winter Finals. I'm one of your casters, Huge Horse from Durham University, and this is Soge King.
Hey guys.
Welcome to our stream. Today we'll be watching York take on Bournemouth for the Overwatch Winter Finals. Soge, you've been playing against these guys in this tournament. What are we expecting here?
Oh, we're going to be expecting great gameplay from both teams. I mean, York and Bournemouth, both of them have been doing extremely well in both NSC and Newell. And York has been almost undefeated throughout this entire two tournaments, actually only dropping into the lower bracket in Newell. So as for what we're going to see today, I hope that we're going to see a lot of innovation, a lot of planning throughout the maps, and hopefully we get to see some good mind games going into these games.
Yeah. Can't underestimate the value of some good mind games. So I think coming into this match, the most important thing to pay attention to is what they're going to be doing in this current meta. Now, any other Overwatch players who are watching, they'll know that the meta at the moment is double shield. But from what we can tell, these teams don't really take advantage of that. They're doing something a bit different, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is extremely exciting. I mean, I've not seen either team play Bastion, but that if they've been practicing it for the past week, it's time to pull it out in the finals because it is something that really takes teams by surprise, and it's such a strong strategy that if the enemy team is not ready to counter it, can just roll them over. But I've not seen either of these teams play it up to this point. So what we're expecting to see is that we're probably going to see standard versus standard for most of these maps. However, York or Fuzzy Duck have been playing a lot of DPS compositions, and that's something that really interests me because they have a very, very good ball player, and his name today is going to be Ball, but he's also known as Jimbo.
Yeah, conveniently, York, of course, have used very confusing usernames that aren't their usual ones. So we'll give you both of them at the start, but we're going to be referring to what's on screen because otherwise it's just insane. So hopefully we're going to be getting underway soon and jumping into some gameplay. Do we know who the captain of York is?
I think it's Wallaby, but I'm not 100%
Who is Tracer today.
Yeah, who is Tracer today.
Yeah. And on Bournemouth, it's Strebel, who is sort of the off healer. So from them, I'm expecting a lot. It's in the tournament environment when you're actually down here, it's very different to playing online because it's such a different setup. Have you played in tournament before?
Yes, I have. I played in many tournaments, in fact.
Very impressive.
I think one of the things we hope to see from these teams is a very high tier shot calling. So they're going to be hopefully more organized than what you would see in a normal comp game. And from what I've seen from these teams, having played against both of them, they are both very, very good in both team synergy as well as mechanical play. Because I've seen York, they set up, and when they engage on you, it's like a rock hit you from all sides. It's not even being caught between a rock and a hard place. It's being caught between everything
like
they throw
six
at you.
rocks.
6 rocks. They're all so good. They will force their tanks to engage on you, and all of a sudden the ball comes out of nowhere, and the Widow will get 2 picks because your heroes are just thrown up into the air. And Bournemouth is by far the best team I've seen in coordinating pull into rock combos with the Orisa Sigma.
So obviously we're going to be looking a lot at engages and disengages. That's going to really set the stage for today. With a good engage, obviously that's how you win fights, but a good disengage can't be undervalued. You know, it can really change the pacing of a game. If you can pull out as they're coming in and change the speed of that fight and make it your own, you can really steal games.
It's funny you should mention that because I was hoping that what Bournemouth would do was when I was talking to them, I actually told them about the ball player. And sometimes
caster interference.
Yeah, sometimes he does get disrupted a little bit. And if he jumps in too early, Bournemouth can actually isolate him from the rest of the team and take him out first. So hopefully they'll be able to disengage quick enough and take out that ball.
So it looks like we're getting underway here on Lijiang control point match. So we're going to be seeing the picks very soon. They've got 13 seconds to assemble those heroes.
No surprise that we're seeing Lijiang here. It's the second favorite map in all of Overwatch, so it was no surprise that we're going to see it come out here first.
What is the favorite map in Overwatch?
It's King's Row.
Oh yeah, of course it is. It's no Ilios though. All I want to do is put people in the well. So here we can see these lineups. So let's talk about Bournemouth first, shall we?
Yeah. So I don't think that this Ryan is going to stay, but if it does, it is actually very good because it's actually something that I was thinking of trying. And it's because every office in this map, every opening is the size of a shield. And it's the same thing you do in King's Row, because Ryan can break through those shields, and if they're expecting double shield from York here, which they are running,
Oh,
the
York,
Ryan penetrates the
second,
shield.
last second there, York have switched onto May for this first fight. Now, I'm getting a bit of flashbacks to when I played on this map, and my Reinhardt threw our match, so hopefully we're not going to see an early charge here. So, we're taking the high ground here with Bournemouth. York taking the point though, which, I mean, you've got to have the point if you want to win, but that high ground can't be understated.
Well, the thing is that York know that with Bournemouth's Reinhardt, they don't want to be fighting in an enclosed space.
Good wall there. Disrupting the teams with these May walls could prove very valuable. We've still yet to see a pick here.
Both Mays are very good at buying space for their team now, and the engage is going to get a little bit more chaotic here as both teams are walking into each other.
Oh, and Solis has picked up on Tracer there. York dropping a player that could be them losing this first point, although it's not really snowballed yet.
Both Quellisons coming out really early from both the Moras, both them charging up really quick. This might change the tide of the fight here.
Yeah, it looks like York are having to back off, and they've actually given up the point. They didn't actually need to, but they have dropped their Orisa. And yeah, and now Bournemouth are running over them. As soon as that first pick comes out, you're going to see another pick.
Well, York lost their May really early, and May is a really integral part of this composition, so it's not really a surprise.
Bournemouth getting picked off there. Their May getting picked off, meaning they can't hold that choke, which
they
is
will have to back out now.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be on the back foot for this fight. If you lose your May on that first point, holding that choke is so valuable, and now they're off the point.
The May is coming back really slowly, and Bournemouth is going to be forced to engage without her.
Oh, that's a miss on the Shatter, I think. The Reaper here trying to get some damage in. Oh, we've got the Sigma ult. It's dropped them in, and that's a sweeping from York. That's a great push and a great fight. They've taken the space, and they've really, really capitalized on it. They've just got to finish off these players here, and then they'll be able to capture. There we go.
A huge thing for York is being able to force out the sound barrier from Cloud there. I'm not sure why Bournemouth decided to pop that ultimate. I thought the fight wasn't very winnable from the very start, not having Riz there from the start.
Ooh, Reaper TP here, getting some better positioning, might be able to pull off something special. But now, see, this is where you want to be holding on Li Xiang on this first point. Now,
the out economy is entirely in favor of York here. This is going to be a very hard disengage.
And York getting another kill on the push. But it's been equalized. Could go either way here still. We're going to have to see what the DPS are able to pull out. That Reaper positioning doesn't snag them a kill. But they're pulling them out. The York team are just decimating them. They're holding them at this first point.
Yeah, it's what I expected. The York's out economy is just winning these fights for them. Having the Coalescence when Strebber and Cloud just didn't have it is winning them this fight. And now they have Doomfist with his Lucio ulti ready to go.
See, and they've backed off, meaning that they can get more players to the fight, but they're not getting the perfect position. But it's still pretty strong here. And we've got a May ult coming out. It's going to trap that Rhine. That Rhine's been taken down. He gets pushed up on the wall. He can't do anything. It's going to be another one fight for York here, unless Bournemouth do something very special.
And York is so disciplined. York is so disciplined with their out economy. Just look at the top right there. Doomfist has been holding on to this out for 3 fights in a row now. And they're just saving it for when Bournemouth are going to have to make their do or die push.
Yeah, and that do or die push probably going to be an ult from Solis, and it's not going to work because there's going to be a Lucio ult there.
Yep, if he can get it off fast enough though, if Solis TPs in and picks up the Lucio first, really quickly.
There's Sigma ult here to try and set this fight up for them. If they can generate an extra ult here. Oh, Solis trapped in that ult. Oh, sorry, Anna being trapped in that ult. This is very good for Bournemouth. Look, they're pushing in, and they've taken 2 players out already. That's both the DPS down. If they can really push in, get some important kills here. Yeah, that Reinhardt picking up the Sigma. And York, we can see backing off.
So they actually traded the May out for the Lucio out there, and that's a crazy trade for Bournemouth there, as now it puts the out economy back in their favor. Cloud is going to have his ultimate up very soon. Doomfist nowhere close to his.
See, now Bournemouth taking this good defensive position, and they've got 4 ults at this point, probably 5 by the time this is engaging. It's really going to come down to which teams use them at the right times, because if you overload on ult, it's basically lost anyway.
The Bongo is going to get dropped here, and we did see the Blossom come up, but it didn't catch anyone.
Oh, a Rhine charge not catching anybody, but is he going to get anybody when it's backing up onto the point? He's dropping his ult. He's hit half the team. A huge Reinhardt ult there. He's dropped half the fucking bloody team. My mistake there. Apologies to the stream. So a huge fight from Bournemouth there, but look, they've used all their ults now. They're going to have to really charge these up quickly. They'll get a Mei ult for sure, but are they going to get anything else, do you reckon, Sogan?
I don't think they're going to be able to, and now he's going to come back on the ball. The Orisa is not going to be quick enough to get back into this fight, so now he's going to try and stall them with this ball. Neither side having much chance to build up any additional outs here, as York has now gone Tracer to try and touch the point. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do it.
Bournemouth are just trying to hold them off the point. The Tracer does get on, but she's had to recall already. It's really going to come down to if they manage to get big bodies on this point, and I'm not sure they're going to. And that's the game won for Bournemouth. A very tight, swingy match there. No clear players really standing out as dominating. Of course, we had that huge Reinhardt ult in that fight. Which sort of sealed the game for them, but you've got to pay attention to how well these healers are doing.
I think the turning point of that map was when the Lucio ult got no value from York.
Yeah.
Bournemouth only needing Riz's Mei ult to take that fight there decided the map between these sides on Control Center, because Bournemouth had 4 ults coming up, but only needed 1 to break York there, and they took the sound barrier out of the equation while doing it. So York immediately from that fight was on the back foot and had to make it back in.
So we're seeing very similar comps again here. Bournemouth, though, it's going to be difficult to keep ahead in this game. Neither of them taking that fight on bridges. White Room from Bournemouth here.
So this is what a little bit more of what I was expecting out from York here. They're going to go back to the Tracer and the ball, something that's been working for them throughout this competition. So what the Tracer and the ball plan to do here is go through the back while Bournemouth engage into York's front line.
Ball has managed to knock off Solace. That's really good for them here. If there's a big pull, they can secure this fight. At the moment, it still could go either way. Bournemouth coming back, 2 kills. Teams are fairly even at the moment. This fight still could go either way. It's so tight already, and we're seeing those ults coming out now as well.
And this is what I said coming out from York. So they're going to bait Bournemouth into engaging on their front line, while the Tracer and the ball try and get a pick onto the back while they are chaotically fighting in the front.
And no team has secured the point yet. So, I mean, if you could, you want to be building ult charge here.
You want to be building out charge here. It looks as though Bournemouth is going to have a stronger place on this point, because York's heroes aren't particularly good at holding onto a point once they've gotten control of it.
Yeah. Oh, he's carried that bomb directly into his own bay, right there, and he's dropped down.
Yeah, York hoping to make it back with a couple of ultimates here, but it's looking good for them as well, as they've managed to take out Bournemouth, who were holding very strongly on the point.
And look at these ults. That Orisa ult's coming out. They've almost got the Reaper ult. They're in a very good position here, York.
That coalescence from York is going to be very useful in the next fight, because what they're going to aim to do is engage early with that Moira ultimate. Because if they can engage early and force Bournemouth into disengaging from them, then the ball and the Tracer can really get their value.
Now they're trying to rush onto point here. They've dropped down the supercharger, so that's going to be a lot of damage coming out.
And so what they did, it was that immediately they wall off the coalescence and immediately they wall off the bongo, so they get no value from Bournemouth. However, they're still getting value out of this fight.
Yeah, Bournemouth have already picked up the Orisa here on Orisa. A huge ball bash there really perfectly sets that up for Reaper. Beautiful play there, beautiful set of abilities. That ball setup, as you said before the game started, that ball setup is so clean.
Yeah, so what York actually traded to get that fight win was almost all their ultimate, only Ball having his ultimate left. So I think this is going to be a tough engage for them, with Bournemouth having the Mei ult, which is a huge turner in these fights. So Bournemouth just going to set up here, hoping to walk into York from White Room. York is going to get ready to engage on them.
Difficult fight to call here, lots of things going on. They're pushing in, but no teams have dropped any players yet. A good ball out here could really change things.
And Ball's able to pick up Strebber.
He's picked up Strebber now. Taking out a Moira in one of these fights, very big. That's a lot of healing they're missing, and it's starting to show. Tracer picking up Demir here.
The thing is that once York gets a pick, it's so easy for them to pick up the rest, because the Tracer and the Ball, they are not 6v6 engage heroes. They are pick-off heroes. And once they get the first one, the rest will immediately come through as they get more and more space. And Bournemouth is going to make the swaps, because they need to touch this point very soon. So now they've got Jam Jam on the ball, hoping that they'll be able to touch it, and they will be able to with the Moira.
They touched it, so it's now going to be a straight fight here, but they've already lost Strebble. That's really, really a difficult situation for Bournemouth. But we see the Ball here going to be trying to stall as much as he can. already dropped. York really taking charge in this fight. They've seen what happened to them on Lijiang the first map, and they've said enough is enough. They're coming into this flying.
So this is more what I thought York was going to do. But the thing about Control Center is that it's more of a double shield versus double shield fight. And I think that's where Bournemouth is going to come out on top. So what I hope to see is that York don't let Bournemouth play their game. They're going to push them out of their comfort zones. Hopefully force Bournemouth to switch a couple of heroes to fit York's playstyle. So what York wants to do is to take Bournemouth out of their comfort zones, force them to play a couple of DPSs that they're maybe not practiced with.
Now, Solace here switching on to McCree, an interesting pick in a double shield match.
If he does hold on to this, it's basically to counter the Tracer and the ball, but we're probably not going to see that from York here.
Yeah, I mean, if he's coming out to try and counter the Tracer and the ball and they just don't play it, that's awkward.
It's a useless hero at this point. You'd much rather have the Reaper for his shield break ability and his flanking ability. The McCree does nothing against this lineup.
Yeah. Unless he manages to pull something out of the bag. But a clean fight here, both teams making their way to point. Bournemouth slowing down a bit. They've got
good Mei wall, but they're not going to be able to capitalize on it just yet.
A great Mei wall there, but they don't manage to pick up any kills, and York managed to pick up that McCree. I'm hoping we're going to see a switch here from Bournemouth, otherwise they're really going to struggle getting onto this point.
Yeah, so Ritz hit a huge wall there, but like I said, without the Reaper, they don't really have the frontline damage to be able to take out anybody from York, and now York is just going to clean house here.
They're just cleaning up on Bournemouth. They've taken the point. So many times you see teams just forget to take the point at this level of the match. Like, you're cleaning up the team, but they've taken the point early.
Ooh, a little bit of tactical crouching coming out from the Orisa there.
Very tactical, very tactical. It really improves your gameplay sense, is what I've heard.
It does.
Yeah.
So now we're going to see the mirror matchup here. Bournemouth and York running the same lineups, but since York was on it first, they're going to have the ultimate advantage coming into this.
So Bournemouth here fighting to get to the point. We're going to see if they can get that Mei wall cutting off that Orisa pull, really slowing them down on the attack.
Now York was able to pop their Coalescence later, so they're going to have it later into this fight. They're hopefully going to gain value from it by pushing Bournemouth out here.
Oh, we've got a Mei ult that's been dropped, and a Sigma ult is coming out. It's going to be difficult to see who's going to pull this off. No teams have dropped. Oh, it's very close still. Two teams trading tanks and DPS.
So it's going to be a messy fight here, but I think that York is going to be able to stabilize here on the point. As I think a big thing that happened there is that after Jam Jam committed his Sigma ult, the players from York that were caught in the Sigma ult were still on the point. Therefore, Bournemouth could not finish off those players from York on the point.
Yep. Now Fuzzy Duck a bit separated from his team here. The Sigma from Fuzzy Duck. We're going to see them just sort of trickling onto the point here. This is going to be a tricky fight. Looks like they're taking it though. Solace wiping out the Mercy. Yeah, no, they've taken that point handily.
Yeah, so what happened there is that York's players from the previous fight had not come back yet. They were a little bit slow to consolidate their power back on the point, and Bournemouth was able to roll into basically what was a 6v3.
Yeah. And see, that's the advantage. You can easily take matches back by just being together as a team.
I think what York should have done there was disengage the people they had on the point and wait for a
huge engage here. Sorry to interrupt you, but they've dropped down straight away from high ground, and they're dropping ults here to try and win this fight. The Lucio has come out with his sound barrier as they're trying to push on.
So we're going to see a few ultimates dropped here. Let's see who gets the better fight. Ooh!
Huge interception on that Reaper ult. The Sigma rock there.
He was ready for that.
Yeah,
he was waiting.
He knew it was coming, and he stole that fight.
And this is really horrible for Bournemouth as they used all their ultimates to try and win their fight. Unfortunately for Solace, you can't just walk in to a team that's expecting your ultimates.
Yeah, you can't just walk up and do it.
You have to come from an off angle where they're not expecting you. And these boops, they're going to come out from York. But Bournemouth is going to make it in for this fight.
Yeah, they're on the point. It's going into overtime here. It's really going to come down to who gets those picks. Solace takes out the Sigma. It could go either way here still though. Bournemouth picking up the kills. That's a huge play from the Reaper. He's really searched out who he needs to finish off in this fight.
Yeah, so Bournemouth, I thought with their backs against the wall would just crumble, but they've come out stronger, and that's something they need to do a little bit more in this match if they're going to want to take it against York.
And it really speaks to the quality of the competition that these two teams in the final are this close. These fights are a knife's edge every time.
Neither team had any ultimates, and Bournemouth backs against the wall, forced to go into that point, is able to take it.
Yeah. Bournemouth here defending this point well. That's a good May wall. It means that they have to readjust where they're coming from.
They're just trying to slow down the fight here, trying to make York waste their
May ult
resources.
coming in. If he can pick up the Moira here, very good kill for Bournemouth there. Oh, very nice, Bournemouth, very good fight there.
So what they did is that they threw the May out into the opening that York was forced to go through. And once they did that, York was just frozen in their tracks, so to say.
And look at this ult economy. Bournemouth, 2 ults to defend for final fight this is going to be.
The Lucio ult is going to be the most important ult for this fight. The fact that they have this defensive ult over York is going to be a game changer.
As long as they get value out of it, though.
Yes, so as long as they get value out of it.
Yeah. So here we go. This is going to be the last fight here. This May manages to dodge that Sigma ult there. Oh, that Reaper ult getting cut short again, but he's managed to shift on through, and he's really putting damage in on these teams.
So even with a good engage early on from York, it's just too much as the ult economy from Bournemouth is going to be able to take it.
I thought Solis had put himself into a corner there, taking his ult directly into a May ult, but he managed to get away with it. If you run these players down, they can't do anything against a man with magic shotguns.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Solis on his Reaper is that it's very hard in this day and age, especially against teams as organized as York, to be able to get off a good Reaper ult, because they're gonna have all these stuns and all these disengages ready for when your Reaper ult is coming out. I guarantee you, all these teams in their heads are counting ultimates to the percentage.
Yeah. Now this was the Rhine ult I was talking about. This here secured that fight for them. This ball really just not quite getting there a lot of the time.
Well, so far we've seen a control map, which I think is one of Ball's worst maps.
Yeah.
I think Lijiang Tower is not a good map for Ball, and I think that's part of why York is not doing as well as we would have hoped.
That's that shutdown on that Reaper that really turned that fight around.
I mean, if you look at the ult economy, neither team had any ults to use in that fight, and yet Bournemouth came out on top.
And then this is the cleanup here from Solis, just putting that damage in. So, I mean, the thing with these matches today is that so far we're seeing that the ult economy is what's really deciding these fights before they even start.
The quality of the shot calling from these teams is insane. Going into the fight, you can just tell they know which players are going to use which ultimates, and they're ready for them. They're ready to use them, and they're ready to counter those ones coming up from the other team.
Yeah, and the Lucio ults, so valuable. Those defensive ults, you can't overestimate how much you need them. Being able to drop a Lucio ult can completely reset a fight. If you can then snowball into another fight off of the back of that, if you can take control, steal the momentum away from the attackers, you can completely turn it around.
Yeah, the thing about this meta is that only having one defensive ult against all these DPS ults means that effectively you can nullify a combo of ultimates coming out from the enemy team there.
Yeah. So, we'll see you soon. It's going to be going to an ad break.
Is to defy convention and challenge expectations. So Intel will bring the processing power for when it's time to go. Brilliant. Frame rates that keep up with your reflexes. Brilliant. Fast clock speeds for when you're on the clock. Brilliant. It's what we do at Intel, powering you to master your potential. Will you rise? Intel. Unleash your brilliance.
We've made it to Insomnia 65 for our Belong Arena Clash Finals. We've got Mortal Kombat, Rocket League, FIFA, Overwatch, and League of Legends. 5 titles up for grabs and players from all over the country competing. It's time to find out who's going to take those trophies home.
Playing up on stage, the atmosphere was amazing. The crowd beneath you, the lights flaring, the rumbling of the sound effects. Not only were you playing the game, but you could feel the game. You could feel the energy.
I love every minute of every Overwatch season within Clash. The fact that you get to play the game that you love, make some new friends. It's such a great feeling being on the stage. You know, you get the crowd supporting, the crowd cheering. I'd recommend it to anyone.
Arena Clash is an absolutely fantastic way to get into esports. It's a good foot in the door. Doesn't matter where you go, be it Teesside, London, Glasgow, anywhere like that. Everybody's got the same welcome experience.
This season has been so much fun. Just to go to Belong and developing a friendship with your teammates is really the best thing. I've loved every minute of it.
What an awesome weekend of games it has been. We had our London Lionheart winning 2 titles for themselves across this weekend. The Spartans, back-to-back Overwatch champions now as well. But also, the winter season has been announced. And make sure you're entering yourselves as well. Get to your local arena and get involved in the action.
Nobody likes being left out. That's why Special Effect are helping people with physical disabilities to play video games. But this isn't just about having fun. The gaming setups we create are personalised, so people can play to the very best of their abilities. And that opens the door to inclusion and independence, confidence and creativity. Help us level the playing field and create more magical gaming moments. Because it's everyone's turn to play.
Introducing Intel Performance Maximizer. Available exclusively from Intel for use with select unlocked 9th Gen Intel Core processors. It's an application that makes it easy to get overclocked performance out of your system. Intel Performance Maximizer analyzes your processor's unique performance potential, gauging how it works best inside your PC. From this, it automatically determines how much you can reliably turn up the speed. Overclocking can help your PC deliver great results, like more frames per second when gaming, or shorter render times when creating video or animation. Intel Performance Maximizer also continuously monitors your processor, adjusting your overclock to enable great performance for the long haul. Overclock today with Intel Performance Maximizer to get the most out of your PC and enjoy more of what you love.
So welcome back to the NSE Winter Finals here. And we've got York versus Bournemouth. We're heading into map 2. We're expecting to see one of the hybrid maps here. So one of the differences we hope to see from York and Bournemouth is that York is going to finally be able to run their ball tracer on one of these maps.
Yeah. So with the kind of maps that we're seeing here, it's going to be set on York, I think, is what we're thinking in the casting booth. We're thinking York is going to set the pace, and Bournemouth, it's going to be whether or not they can adjust to it.
Because I think Bournemouth will be comfortable running their standard into the maps if York allows them to play it. However, what I'm thinking is that on hybrid, we have Hollywood, Numbani, Iconwall. It's going to be Bournemouth's map pick. So they're probably going to want to pick a map where they know that York can't set up on as many high grounds as they would like to. And I think that's probably going to be Numbani, as I think York have looked very, very strong on both Hollywood and Eichenwald. However, Eichenwald is the most played map out of these three. So if Bournemouth want to be in their comfort zones, they might be going with that. However, York is going to be pulling out the ball and the tracer in all likelihood on one of these maps, and Bournemouth are going to have to be able to adapt to it.
Well, I mean, we saw them switch onto that McCree. It didn't give them much love on Li Jiang, but on a hybrid, if they switch onto that McCree again against the ball and the tracer, they could really pick something up here.
Well, the thing is that when I played against York, we actually decided to run the exact same thing that Bournemouth thought was going to be the counter.
Sure.
But the thing about York is that their ball and tracer, they don't show themselves until you're forced to engage into York's front line. So York as a front line, they're going to sit as a core of 4 people, and they're going to bait your front line into taking this 4v6 fight into them. And the moment you engage, the ball and tracer come out of nowhere and get picks on you.
See, but Bournemouth, one of their options here could be a Baptiste. If they're trying to jump you in the back line and you can drop that back lamp, that invulnerability field, you can potentially get away with accepting that charge from them.
It could be, but what do we drop in place of a Baptiste though? Without a Lucio, engaging onto the enemy core is going to be so much harder. Without a Moira, that's a huge source of healing, and Coalescence is one of the strongest ultimates in the game at this time.
Yeah, so if you want to be playing around them, you're playing a weaker comp into them.
Exactly, and York, if they see that Bournemouth is playing a sub-optimal comp, they just switch back to standard. They just go back to double shield.
All right, and we're coming into this now. Bournemouth obviously one map up.
So we're going to see York on attack first, so that's going to put York in the initiative seat.
Again, attack is really, really difficult to be able to stay in the right mindset. They're down a set of maps. They played very well, but they've just been pipped there. Like, it almost feels worse to lose in those clutch situations.
So now Bournemouth is actually going to ask to attack first.
Oh, are they? Okay.
So they're going to reset the game because what happened here is that... No, actually, yeah, okay, so what is happening is that York was allowed to pick the map.
But
because
then they
Bournemouth
get to pick the side.
That was my mistake. I mentioned earlier that Bournemouth was picking the map. I was incorrect. So it's loser pick map. So York actually decided to go with Hollywood. And this is what I expected from them, because on Hollywood, I've seen them run this before. They run a shield break comp into you. They set up a Junkrat and Hanzo on high ground. And basically, once you're taking engages into the tanks, because you're running standard as Bournemouth, the DPSs, they just attack you from off angles away from your shield and get a huge amount of damage into your lineup.
Yeah, and that's such an issue on Hollywood especially.
Because in this double shield meta, they're not running anything that can take high ground from these DPSs.
Well, because I mean, running a Winston suicide at the moment.
Running anything that takes high ground is suicide at the moment. It's very, very tough for Bournemouth for standard to unseat anything that mobile DPS is going to have you on a map like Hollywood.
And then if you've got a good DPS player on an uncontested high ground, you're going to have an issue.
And I can vouch for the fact that Fabrications is a very, very good Junkrat.
And he's Anna today. Very convenient, very useful for us as casters.
So the player named Anna, who also goes by Fabrications, is probably going to be running a DPS that sits on high ground and shield breaks.
Yeah, okay. So here we go. We've set up. Game's been reset.
So now we do have Bournemouth on attack. I think the names are messed up. Yep. Okay,
there we go.
So we do have Bournemouth on attack, and I have a theory for why they asked for attack first. It's because they want to see what York is going to set up with on defense. Because Bournemouth don't want to be put in the space where they have to take the initiative on what they roll out on defense first.
Ooh, a brig here. I don't know if that's going to stay.
No, they're on attack. They can switch heroes.
Yeah.
But York, they're actually not going to run a shield break comp at the start. It's actually not that good on first point. So what they're running here is what we see off a lot in Overwatch League and Contenders, is where they have Mei Reaper. And what the Mei does is that they set up on orange, which is the first house, where we're seeing them set up right now. So this is where they will set up. And what they do is wait for Bournemouth to walk through one of the openings on the attack side. And once they do that, the Mei is going to wall off 1 or 2 people, and the whole team is going to drop onto those people.
So you're going to want to watch for that in these fights. You're going to want to watch York, the Mei, played by Tracer. dropping a Maywall and cutting off a Bournemouth player.
So Bournemouth is going to be wanting to push in very coordinated here and all together. They're actually going to be running a Hanzo, expecting probably not double shield from York.
Shields from York getting very badly damaged here. They've had to rotate and drop down. Bournemouth here might be able to set something up. They've dropped 2 players. Bournemouth running in. We've got a pause here.
So Bournemouth have correctly identified that York would be running a composition like this. And what they did instead is that they run the Hanzo, which shreds the shields coming out from York there. And because York now has a shield advantage and they have no way of... They're on the defense. They don't want to be taking initiative by engaging first. They want to sit back and wait for the attackers to make a mistake. But what Bournemouth did is that they said, we're going to sit back and we're going to shoot at you with these DPSs. And once your shield breaks, we're going to win the fight. And that's exactly what happened there.
See, now, from what I'm seeing on the stream, those 2 guys at the back are the technical assistants for today. So I think we might have a technical issue that they're going to be addressing. So while they're doing that, we're just going to talk a bit more about what we can be expecting on this hybrid map. And as we saw there, it's that shield break. Even though they had the high ground set up, they couldn't stay on it. Those shields were shredded.
Yeah, I think York was not expecting Bournemouth to run something away from the standard that we've been seeing up to them so far. They were expecting either the May Reaper or the Doomfist Reaper, but we did not see that come out from Bournemouth. Bournemouth actually very good with the strategy coming out here. I'm not sure if they were expecting a Bastion, because that is something that you would run against a Bastion.
Yeah.
But York, I think after seeing that Bournemouth is running a Hanzo, they're going to swap onto DPSs of their own.
Yeah. That there's a technical issue at this point is going to really hurt. Okay, sure. So what I'm getting in my ear is that we're deciding if there's going to be a rematch, if it's going to restart, or if they're going to carry on playing. We'll let you know as soon as we do. Until then, that would really set Bournemouth back here.
That would set Bournemouth back, because being able to take first point of Hollywood as quick as they did is outstanding. And now that York know what's coming, they might switch up their DPSs. They might go shield break of their own.
Yeah.
Or they might engage earlier, because I don't think their lineup was wrong. I think that they played it wrong. What they should have done is that the moment they saw the Hanzo, they needed to play corners. They needed to play around Hanzo sidelines and force Bournemouth to walk into them and take a close quarters fight.
And it's unfortunate on just because of the nature of the game. Sometimes you get these technical issues that can really set the stage. But hopefully that's not going to be the case. These teams are still very close. Even though that was a wipe there, like, the setup is still very clean. It's not like they're making huge mistakes. They're just getting punished for little things. Bournemouth are just picking up on that.
Both these teams are playing on a very high level right now, actually. The coordination that we see out of them, the ultimate coordination, the out economy, as well as the level of shot calling that we see, the focus has been very good. And it's just both these teams have such a high quality of play, and I hope to see more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It really speaks to the quality of the tournament this year, that such good teams are facing off against each other in the finals. So going back to what we saw on previous maps on Lijiang, right? What do we think is going to be the big threat this match? Because obviously Solace was on that Reaper last time, and he was able to tidy up a lot of those fights. But one thing that doesn't get talked about enough are these healers. In these fights, when you're in a normal when you're in a normal game, if you're in comp yourself, you're never healed. I mean, we can all admit it. I play a lot of healer myself. I don't heal people. I don't want to. Why would I? But in these matches, these fights are so difficult to call because the healers are keeping everything so tidy.
Yeah, the thing about this meta is that you see a lot of emphasis on big AoE healing coming out from both supports. So what we're hoping to see a little bit more of is that when if York were to come out with a more explosive composition, like I said, so what they're going to do is that if they...
Oh, we've got a ruling here. So we're going to be restarting. Okay. Sure. So, because there's been a DC inside the first 30 seconds, the teams are going to have to stay on the characters that they had already selected. So they're going to have to retake that first fight. They know that they've not got the right comp to deal with Bournemouth, but for that first 30 seconds, they can't switch.
So what York is either going to have to do is to concede the first point entirely or run out with the same comp. But like I said, I do not think that the composition was the problem. It was their style of play.
Yeah.
So what York is going to be able to do here, and something that I think they're going to do, is that they're going to force the Hanzo to take a close quarters fight into them. And if Bournemouth is able to identify this, they would switch up their composition as well.
Yep.
They're no longer going to run a Hanzo if they're not going to be able to get those sidelines for him.
Well, I mean, they have to take it for the first 30 seconds regardless, I believe.
Well, as the attackers, you're more able to sit into your spawn and switch, make the switch for whenever that happens. They could take the first fight with the Hanzo, but I think feeding York these ultimates is going to be more detrimental than good for them.
So we're going to be seeing a restart here, Bournemouth versus York. Again, Hollywood first point. So what we're going to be expecting, York on the defense to take that high ground. Orange room? Orange. Sorry, I'm not a professional caster like my co-host. So we're going to be seeing these lineups very shortly. Obviously, it's going to be the same as last time for at least these first 30 seconds. It's going to be really... it's going to be really interesting to see what these players do here after those 30 seconds, because the attackers can obviously back up, like you were saying, and switch. Defenders can't so much unless they're just willing to concede that first point.
So what I tell my Orisa when we are setting up against what we expect to be a shield break comp is that I tell my Orisa not to drop a shield until we see what the enemy is running. Because what the Orisa did from York there is that he had a shield up already on high ground, ready to go. But the thing is that it got broken so fast, and he committed his next shield onto high ground as well. It just got broken again. So they were forced to drop onto the point without any shielding.
Without that
and that's when they got picked off by Solus. Solus got 3 picks there, and we're going to see the same thing come up from Bournemouth.
Mercy here on the Moira, setting up just so they can get an idea of what's going to be coming at them, dropping that first orb, going to build some ult charge.
So Bournemouth is actually going to roll out with this composition. They're going to stay the same.
Well, I mean, for now, they could always go back in 30 seconds. Difficult fight here as we see Solid trying to get there and get those kills in. They've dropped again, but with the shield this time, so it's a very different fight. We've got a little square off on the high ground between the two DPS, and Anna on that Reaper has managed to drop Bournemouth's DPS.
So this is more what I was expecting from York. So they've correctly identified that why the last fight went wrong is because they didn't disengage quick enough. And now that they've identified the problem, disengaging the moment they see the Hanzo onto the point, they now have the shield resources to be able to take that close quarters fight against Bournemouth.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate they've had to reset this for a technical issue. That will have gotten into Bournemouth's head a little bit, having won already in their minds, and then having to come back and try and do it again.
Hopefully they're going to be able to reset the mindset and not tilt off the back of this.
Yeah. And we see York having to rotate down onto point again.
Ooh, Solus gets a pick though on ball, and that's
Very
so
nice.
important.
That's so important. Dropping that Sigma really sets you up here. And we've got the Coalescence here from the attackers, really putting in that healing and that damage. If they can cap this fight off quickly before they get back.
Well, that Coalescence got no value there, and looks like York, Bournemouth coming on top here, even with the late Coalescence coming out from York.
Yeah, York still losing players here, backing off a bit. We're just seeing if they can tidy this up. Yeah, it looks like they have taken this on their second push. Not quite as fast as the first one, but still very tidy. And they're looking for these picks here as well, sending it out Solace to see if he can pick something up.
I'm actually surprised that York is going to stay on the same composition here, not switching to anything that takes high grounds particularly well.
Yeah, especially on this fighting area on second point, where you're running through all of these tall buildings. Without anything except a Lucio that can take higher ground, you're going to struggle a bit there.
So what they're planning to do here is take these fights early. They're going to hold this door with all their life.
Oh, big Mei ult here. Doesn't seem to get anybody, but Solace picking up huge kills here with that ult. And that's going to be another wipe. And
Solace is just completely uncontested on this Hanzo. York is going to have to do something to either get to the backline to be able to take him down, or they're going to have to shut him down some other way, because normally how you counter a Hanzo ult in this meta is with Immortality Field, and they don't have a Baptiste.
Yeah.
And York is still going to stick on this composition. I think they're a little bit reluctant to lose the percentage they already have on these ults.
Yeah. I mean, they do have a lot. They do have a lot of ult charge, but Bournemouth has more.
If it was up to me, I'd be making the swap. Like, even with the ultimates, you can't drop it.
Oh, that is a huge grab on that. That Gravity Flux would have been a huge kill if not for that for that Lucio ult. But York here still look like they're winning this fight, tidying people up and clearing around. They're still in there. This Streba, they're trying to get some ult charge, I believe.
So what York knew is that with a larger ult advantage, they're going to be able to come in and take Bournemouth, as Bournemouth had used most of their ultimates in the previous fight. So York, with well-coordinated pull into pull into Sigma ult was able to take that fight, as it just completely nullifies Cloud's ult on the Lucio there.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge... See, this is the issue with grouping up too much into a Sigma. Because obviously, you want to be grouping up. It's a team game. You want to be grouping up. But if you can get punished for it now.
Exactly. Now, Bournemouth is going to have to fight with almost no ultimates.
That May wall blocking a lot of that damage from the Coalescence here. This fight very back and forth. No clear winners just yet. Ooh,
that's a
lovely
huge
pick-off.
pick.
That's a huge pick-off. And a really resetting Bournemouth here.
And York is going to want to slow down the fight here, as it's currently a 4v5.
Yeah, if they can keep them fighting for as long as possible, that's going to be so good for
And
York.
Bournemouth is smart. They call the disengage, but they're still getting picked
They're still
here.
getting picked off. And this is going to set them back, because they can't fight without Streba.
They can't fight with any players down in this current meta. If you're playing mirror comps into each other, you meet every player you have.
Yeah.
And the moment a pick comes out, they needed to disengage a bit earlier there, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, Riz dropped just after Solace, and then they were just stuck in there.
They were just stuck in there, and I think York bought a lot of time for themselves, but now Bournemouth are coming back at them with full strength.
Ooh, and that's going to be a May ult dropped on the team there. It's going to catch that Sigma, but there's a Coalescence on top of them. Doesn't save him enough, though.
Yeah, the focus calls coming out from York very strong there, as even with that Mora pumping the entire Coalescence into that Sigma, he still goes down. And York is going to be able to win the fight off a very good May out from Tracer and the Coalescence from Mercy.
Yeah. And now they've got them in their spawn doors. Now, I think that this is a bit of an overextend if they're holding this far up. They are backing off now, but if you get caught out, even just one player being caught out here, that can completely set you back on your defense.
Yeah, so York is holding very far forward here, hoping to be able to get more pickoffs.
Ooh, and it's a May ult dropped onto them. Not entirely sure who they've managed to catch there. I don't think they've managed to catch anybody. So Bournemouth still, they've got the
So
momentum,
Bournemouth are just
though.
taking space.
Momentum here. Bournemouth have dropped their tank, but they've lost their key DPS here. And you're having to commit an ult to win that, though.
Yeah, so what happened there is that Bournemouth was forcing York out of the way. And
that is an unfortunate use of that ult. I don't think that's a good play there.
I'm not sure. Bournemouth thinks they can win this fight.
Oh my god. They are pushing in. Oh, that is a huge play. Completely ignore me. Clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Bournemouth actually not giving up there, fighting tooth and nail for their position on the payload.
Very impressive there. They went down. They lost their DPS. At that point, you want to be considering your disengage. They said, no, we're going back in.
It costed them all their ults, though. York still have two coming into this fight.
Yeah, coming into this fight, York having the May ult and the Coalescence, that's going to be difficult for them to fight through. But they're taking that extra space, which might make the difference. But that's locked them off the point. York getting a lot of damage out here. That Reaper ult not really picking anything up. And that's going to be the last fight there, and it's going to be going to York.
As much as I hate to say it, it's a classic case of 2 ults versus 0. I press more Qs than you, I win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, still impressive that they got as far as they did, especially that last fight, by recommitting to it. They got a large amount of distance there, which really sets them up well. It's not a full cap, but it's still distance.
Yeah, I want to talk about what York did there on the second point, and they held with that May Reaper really early at the choke all the way in front of Bournemouth's spawn.
Yeah.
And I think that played a very big part into this fight, as without taking a fight that early on, they would not have gotten the second engage on the second point as quickly as they did.
Yeah. So by holding further up, they were able to set themselves up for a fight even if they lost.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were able to set themselves up for 2 fights on second point and able to come back with those 2 ultimates, the May and the Coalesce and the Mora ultimates, actually is very important there.
So we're going to be seeing them selecting their heroes very shortly here. Now, what are we thinking on this attack?
Probably May Reaper from Bournemouth. I think that's the best strategy to run on the first point. Oh, but Bournemouth might roll out with a McCree. And I think they're doing this because they're expecting York to run a heavy flanking lineup.
To go with a ball.
Yeah, but
they're not.
York has identified, in all likelihood, that Bournemouth is expecting them to run their ball in Tracer, and they're not going to give them that. They're gonna. They've not run much double shield up to this point, but they're proving here that they can play it.
Ooh, and a Sombra.
This might just be to scout.
That's a fair point.
They might roll out with the Sombra, get the Sombra to see what Bournemouth is running, and then have her translocate back into spawn and switch into a hero that they would like to play.
Still, Sombra, always a fun pick. Always a fun pick.
They might be expecting a Bastion comp here, but Bournemouth, I don't think too much experience run him.
I'm pretty sure they're just going for the scout
so
here.
We see so we see Ana gonna scout here, and the moment they see the lineup, they swap.
Yep. And they
So
switched
he's gonna
onto
head
that
onto
Reaper.
Reaper.
It's exactly like you called it. Yep.
So we have the McCree of Bournemouth on the high ground of Cafe. So he's going to be trying to control this flank area, but like we said, York is not running a flank lineup.
Yeah, so it's going to be really difficult to get value out of that McCree in this fight. And they don't really have an opportunity to switch him. If the McCree can pick them up, it'll be fine. Bournemouth here, dropping the enemy May, could make something happen here and could hold them for this first fight. And I think York here are trying to back up, but they're not finding it. And Bournemouth able to hold them on this first push.
So Solar for the most of that fight was mostly uncontested until Doomfist on the Lucio was able to go and contest him and take that 1v1, forcing him off the high ground. But then by then the damage had been done. York had lost a couple of players and they needed to back out. So now we're gonna see York re-engage through the choke. The May wall gonna come up from Bournemouth.
Ooh, lovely May wall there. Really locks people in. Anna picking up that kill there. And it looks like York are going to be running over them here. If Bournemouth can charge ults, though, they can really set themselves up for next point.
So a huge decider coming into that fight was that Ana on Reaper. So because York is running a more front-heavy lineup than Bournemouth is, because Solace is on the McCree, they were able to take that fight as a 5v6 because the McCree effectively into double shield is useless, and Bournemouth is going to swap off the McCree onto the Reaper. So now they're gonna do what York did in the earlier fight and take this close engage.
Yeah,
they want to be setting up this shield closer to the choke, I think.
Reaper on the high ground here from York, though.
But the thing is that York took that point so fast and Bournemouth wasn't able to respawn in time. They've gotten control of Bank.
So taking this high ground with the Reaper means he can drop in. He seems to have backed off now, though. He's just frontlining.
So now the engage is going to come up with the Coalescence here. And this is going to force York back, as York is going to kite out this Coalescence. And once that Bournemouth ult proves no value, they're going to re-engage now with a Sigma ult.
Good Sigma ult there. Collects both the tanks, but that May wall stops them from really capitalizing on it. Pushing in here. Huge damage, but no kills. And there we go. York managing to pick up the Orisa there.
So now York is going to clean up house here. So what they did there was really good, as they were able to kite out the entirety of Strebus out there on Bournemouth's side. And once that Mora ult ran out, they just engaged with Ana's ultimate. And because of that, they were able to roll over Bournemouth, as Bournemouth had no more resources to deal with the Reaper. So now we're going to see a relatively equal ult economy from both sides. As the biggest discrepancy comes in the fact that Doomfist has his sound barrier and Cloud doesn't.
Well, he picked up a lot. He got a lot of damage in that last fight. If you saw in the kill feed, he got 4 of those kills.
He did.
Oh, a May ult here could reset this if they can finish off these kills. They're not. They're just about getting that Sigma. They're dropping a Sigma ult to win this as well. Let's see.
They have to drop everything. York are close enough.
Yeah. And York, it's still very close, but I think York have the numbers, and York have dropped them there. They've managed to push them out.
So like I said, the Doomfist having sound barrier was a huge play in that fight there, because the May ult got basically no value, and because of that, York was going to be able to take a really fast map too. And York just looked like a better team throughout that entire map.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate for those technical issues, but it's kind of unavoidable sometimes. And it means that we've really seen a shift in the mental state of these players. Because Bournemouth going into that match looked so dominant. If they'd been able to carry that through, they could have just taken this whole series like that.
I feel like the biggest thing about that technical reset wasn't the fact that they had to reset and that York figured out their strategy. I think it's mostly the mindset that comes into play.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they were feeling good about themselves. They rolled York in the first fight. But after that reset, it just, maybe they felt like things weren't going their way.
Yeah. This was a huge set of dragons from Solace here. And this was the Gravit Flux that turned that fight around and allowed them to push as far as they did.
And this is the first engage of second engage of York into Bournemouth on their attack.
Yep. Now, important thing to note in a lot of these fights is the positioning of these May walls really dictates how these fights are going. Even here, you see that it's really like reducing how much you can get out of those coalescences.
So the theory that goes in a lot of these coaching circles these days is that why Mei is so strong in this current meta is that she allows for a lot of geography manipulation. And being able to add a wall in a map is so strong in the middle of the fight, especially because there's so many things these days that get blocked off by sidelines. A lot of these Mei walls, what they're doing is that they're not trapping players. They're blocking sidelines of the Moira. So the fight is split up into front line and back line. And if the Mei is able to identify a perfect place to place the wall, suddenly the coalescence is getting like a quarter of the value it normally does.
Yep.
She's not able to see your team, or she's not able to see the tanks.
Yeah, so where a coalescence can usually be used to keep your tanks up and deal damage on top of it, you're lucky if you're even getting half of that with these Mei walls.
Precisely. So what the Meis are doing in this fight, they're so good. These players have so much spatial awareness that they're able to just take a look at the map and decide where they need to put this wall. Because we see it come down a lot as well. They block off enemy team players from their own Orisa Bongo. So they wall off your team from your own Bongo, and they walk in and kill your Bongo really quickly so that you lose value from that entire ultimate.
Yep.
And basically, it's a game of chicken to see who can do this first, because obviously you want to be waiting for that wall. But the moment you drop your wall first, the enemy team is going to be able to reposition themselves and take another fight, take a fight on a separate angle with their own wall.
Yeah.
So the mind games coming out from both these Mei players and both these teams from maneuvering around these geographical changes is really a good sight to see.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's key to why we've not seen these players who, before the matches, were saying we want to see some ball, we want to get some Hammond out there, not being able to pick it, because with that much like geography manipulation, if you're a character that's relying on those clear routes to be able to engage, you're going to really struggle.
It's also really hard to play ball into Mei Reaper.
Yeah, obviously. Oh, Hanamura here.
So Bournemouth, this is Bournemouth's map pick. So they lost the previous map. They have gone with Hanamura, and York have chosen to defend first. They could have a pocket strat for their defense, hoping to have a full hold on first point. Or it could be that they're just more comfortable defending first, and they want to see what Bournemouth roll out on attack.
See, now Hanamura doesn't necessarily follow all the same rules as the other maps, just because.
They don't.
Yeah, it's going to be completely different. We could see anything in this first point.
You can see anything, so you can either hope for a close engagement
like
with Mei
that.
Reaper.
Oh, I want to see that Farah.
I hope that Bournemouth rolls out with this, but I think the moment they see what York is running, they're not going to be able to.
No. I mean, you love to see a Farah. It's so much more fun. But a Baptiste also an interesting pick here.
So what York is going to want to do with this composition, they're not running any long-range DPSs. So they're going to do what they did on Hollywood and take close engages to these choke points.
If Bournemouth do commit to this Farah Mercy, though, they might have an issue with that.
Yeah, so what they will want to do as Bournemouth, especially if they're going to commit to rolling out on this composition, is that they're going to want to take off angles on those shields.
They do look like they're going to be committing to it.
Because Tracer and Anna are not going to be able to take down a Farah, especially if she's far away from them. And if the quality of play of these DPSs is as high as I'm expecting it to be, Ritz is not going to get caught by a Mei Reaper.
Yeah. So we're seeing them setting up here for this first fight. The Farah trying to get some ground, see if they can pick up a kill. If they could snag a kill here, see now, as they've done this, York have engaged because they realise that they've got 2 less players in this fight. Oh, huge damage here from Riz though. This Farah Mercy really doing good work here, but trapped by that Mei. The fight is very close though. This revive could reset it.
The Bournemouth has a massive spawn advantage here. Their spawn is so much closer than York's.
Yeah.
And even if they trade evenly, they're going to be able to take this fight.
Yeah. Bournemouth here trying to find more damage, trying to pick off these players before they commit to taking the point.
Yeah, York
huge
is waiting for
there.
respawns, but they're not going to have time to come back though.
Yeah, huge kill on the Sigma there.
So what York correctly identified is that they needed to take the fight into Bournemouth straight away.
Ooh, we're seeing a re-engage here from York though. They've come back in. Now they're coming in with only like 4 players, so this is going to be a difficult one. They've managed to pick off the Orisa, but it's not confirmed if they're even going to manage to win this fight.
They're hoping to take a close quarters fight on this point, hoping that the DPSs won't have the space to get these picks, but they're going to be able to on the side of Bournemouth.
Yep. Riz here really pulled it out.
They do force out a couple of outs though.
Yeah, dropping that Baptiste ult, it charges quickly, but if they'd come into this second point with that Baptiste ult, that probably would have been a roll.
So York is going to go swap onto the Hanzo here on Anna. So they're hoping that with a long-range DPS of their own, they're going to be able to take down Ritz, who's not playing with a shield.
Yeah. So we're going to have to see how that works out for them. Hanzo, a very tight pick, but it's really going to come down to the skill between these two players as Bournemouth take this high ground here.
So Bournemouth are going to play as a group, hoping to bait them into engaging while the Pharmacy gets the backline.
I think that York might have blocked themselves off in that fight.
So that's the individual skill you were talking about. Anna taking basically a 1v1 with Solace and getting a pick from far range. And that opens the floodgates for York to engage into the rest of Bournemouth as they have a stronger core lineup to engage in front line.
Yeah, Anna here on the Hanzo, desperately trying to assert some dominance on this other DPS.
So with the Mei on the side of York, basically they're playing a 5v4 into the side of Bournemouth's attack, because Bournemouth, they're playing as a unit of Moira, Orisa, Sigma, and Hanzo. And because this is a 4v5, York is going to want to engage into them early before the Pharmacy finds a good off angle to engage into them.
Yeah, and we've got a messy fight here. Drops Jam Jam. Riz drops the ult, takes out his main threat. If he can get away here, he can potentially do a lot of damage because there's nobody to contest him now. Oh, York dropping that beat there. They're going to be hard to kill.
But they're going to come out on top here as they manage to get the picks in the subsequent fight.
Yeah. Again, Riz is going to be difficult for them to deal with. And they have actually managed to steal a tick there, Bournemouth, with that fight.
So what they did was they rushed the point, but by then York had already gotten the pickups they needed to win the fight. So York is doing what I think they need to be doing, which is taking these fights extremely early as a 5v6, and they're doing that really well. And because Bournemouth have to set up with this Pharmacy on the flank.
They've switched off of it now.
They've switched off of it now because they realize they can't be taking these fights 4v5 anymore.
Yeah.
And now they're going to take a 6v5 into York, hoping that Anna won't be there to help them.
If
but Anna has correctly identified that. Is standing with
Dragon straight in. It's not going to pick anybody up, but it makes them lose their positioning, so they've been forced onto the low ground here. It's a fight of coalescences. Anna manages to pick off Strebor. Mercy finds solace here. So this is going to be another good defense from York.
So now this is where York really shows their strengths, because once they are given a sideline for their DPSs to run these long-range heroes like Hanzo and Widow, you really see their individual skill come to play here, as their snipers are so good at getting these picks from far away. Look at Anna, he's not even standing with his team. He's all the way up on some high ground or some low ground far back in spawn, and he's able to get these picks on Bournemouth as they're walking in.
Yeah. I mean, picking them off as they're walking in, they don't even get a real fight.
They don't even get a real fight, exactly.
Which means that they're even slower, and it's all about time on the second point.
It really is. They've already shaved off a massive amount of time. Because if you remember, Bournemouth basically took the first point on their first fight, and they've already whittled it down.
Ooh, that's an interesting direction from that Hanzo ult. That Sigma ult going to be finding people, going to do a lot of damage, and again, that's York keeping it tidy in these fights. The fight's not over yet, but it will go to York. It's just a matter of time and how much ult charge they're able to build. Now,
so Bournemouth is just rushing the point at this point.
Yeah, if I'm Bournemouth now, I want to build ults, because you've not really got much time. If you can get that last fight where you've got ults and they've got ults, it almost comes down to just the skill and who you're managing to catch out.
Now, I want to point out that Anna has swapped off this Hanzo. He's realized that running Hanzo into double shield, especially if they're playing as a unit, is not going to be the strongest thing they can run. Yeah. And they're going to swap onto the Reaper to take a 6v6.
Oh, lots of ults coming out here. We're going to see who's able to pick stuff up. Again, York managing to pick them off on their way in. And that's going to be another reset for Bournemouth. And they've not got anything out of the ults they just used. They're going to be coming into this, one of their last two fights, with a Moira ult and bongos.
I reckon that this is going to be the last fight for Bournemouth, and what they were doing there was try pushing, only using the Sigma out, trying to force out a couple of ultimates from York. It did work, but York still has ultimates coming out, very disciplined with the ult economy there.
Yep.
But
which is what we said on Li Zhang as well.
Exactly.
Even though they dropped that map, their ult economy was very clean.
So now we're going to see the engage coming out from both teams. Both teams are going to drop all the ultimates they have here.
Mercy manages to find solace there. Gets him with the coalescence. It's still going to be a very messy fight. It could go either way. Dropping this Mei ult could find them what they need. It Gravit Flux comes out. It's not going to find anybody, but Doof is picking up Demir, and then the team follows up and drop most of Bournemouth here.
The longer these fights takes, the more it benefits York, because their spawn is right next to them. Any trade they get, they have the respawn advantage. So much so that Bournemouth isn't going to be able to make it back. Now they're going to switch onto fast heroes to try and touch the point.
Well, they are going to touch. It's just going to be a matter of, are they going to get anything done on that? If they can snag that second tick, though, that might be worth it.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to take this fight regardless of whether they want to or not.
Yeah. It's going to be a big fight here. York can control this. They will have the ult advantage. They've got the Lucio ult already. Bournemouth have dropped theirs. York... Oh, wow. It's going to be a difficult fight to call here. Solis picks up Mercy. Tracer dropping Jam Jam. It could still go either way here. Solis, again, finds the Orisa. Oh, but it looks like it's just gone York's way. Unless this Doomfist can pull off something very special, he doesn't look like he can.
It was looking very good for Bournemouth there, getting the initial pickoffs, but York just holding strong, getting the pickoffs of their own. They know that if they just trade life for life, they will eventually come out on top because of that respawn advantage.
Yeah, and that's going to be another map for... that's going to be that defense. Very good. 1.5, I think it's safe to say. So we're going to need to see Bournemouth pull off something very good here on this first point. They're going to have to put up a very good defense, and it's going to come down to these picks.
I think what York is very good at is just adapting to the play style of their opponents. So every time we see them lose their first point, they just come back so much stronger in their second, because through the first point, they're able to identify how Bournemouth wants to play, who they're running, and because of that, they just change up their play style. They correctly identified that if Bournemouth was going to stick on the DPSs, they needed a long-range DPS to deal with the Pharah, to deal with the Hanzo, who are not playing around shields as much as they probably should. And the moment that Bournemouth switches off them, they go onto the Reaper to take the close engage.
Okay, this is going to be interesting here. We're seeing York hovering this Widow and Bournemouth taking Doomfist. Now, Doomfist is a very, very interesting pick here because, again, it's one of those champs where you're saying, hey, I think I'm going to be able to do a lot here because I think I'm going to be able to outposition you.
So I think they're expecting York to play Mei Reaper, and if that's what you're expecting from Bournemouth, you want to run the Doomfist for additional pick-off treasure. So basically, you take these fast and explosive fights, you set up for the Doomfist to get these pick-offs, and once you do that, you can have these 5-on-6 fights. So now we're going to see Ana roll out on this Sombra again, just to scout initially what Bournemouth is running, because they could be running a Bastion for all York know.
Yeah.
We know that they're not, but York doesn't know that yet.
They're almost still pretending they are, but they've been spotted, and now Ana will be switching onto that Reaper.
So the moment they know that it's not a Bastion comp, they just go back to the Mei Reaper.
Now the Doomfist here, it could pay dividends. If they manage to get a good pick-off, it's going to be tricky on Hanamura first, but if they do manage it, that could be very good for them.
Long drawn-out fights are going to favor York though because of the value you get from the Mei. So basically what Bournemouth want to do is not give York any value in these fights, but York already with the initial 2 pickoffs.
Wow. Oh, Solis picks up Ana though. They could still come back onto this. That boulder could have been big, but ended up colliding with the wall, and I think that's going to be York taking first point on that very first push.
It's going to be very difficult, even with Bournemouth getting the picks here, because York are going to use this coalescence to secure the point.
Now, I rate that because you don't want to get trapped in this fight and end up
you don't want to be wasting time, precisely.
So if they can get straight onto second point, even if they've not got that ult for that first fight, they kind of don't need it. The amount of time they're going to have to take second point on Hanamura, look, nearly 6 minutes. Right?
I disagree with how Bournemouth chose to take that engage though. With the Doomfist, you always want to be taking initiative on these fights, and they let York walk into them. They need to be setting up these pulls so that the Doomfist can get a confirmed kill with his punch.
Yeah. I mean, they've just missed the perfect opportunity for a Doomfist kill there, whereas they're coming through that tiny little choke point, and Riz has been taken out again. This is looking very bad for Bournemouth here, but they could still hold it. It's very difficult to take Hanamura's second. The fight is still sort of equal, but this Mail is going to be very big. Solis, it's still very close, very difficult to call. I think what we're going to see here is a very long fight, but I think Bournemouth will be able to hold this.
It's a 5 versus 2 for now, but like I said earlier, Bournemouth do have the spawn advantage, so the players are coming back in numbers. But York is still very strong on this point. They still have 5 players up.
No ults from either team yet on this protracted fight. It's going to go on for a while. It's going to be a question of can Doomfist here tidy up. Now, they've sort of disengaged here, York.
So
giving
Bournemouth spawns have come back.
Yeah.
If I was York, I would disengage right now and come back 6 strong.
And I think that's what they're doing.
So this is a smart play from York, because look at the outs. York have 3 and having a 4th coming up, but Bournemouth do have a couple coming up of their own. But If York identifies correctly that Bournemouth don't have these ultimates yet, they should take this fight really quickly.
I don't think they're going to be able to tell that they don't have the Lucio ult, though. And if Cloud can build that quick enough for this next fight, this could save Bournemouth.
They're taking this fight really quickly, though. York is forcing them to drop onto the point.
Bournemouth have the ults. They're using them. Gravik Flux comes out. We're going to see the Lucio ult. There it is. It's going to be a tough fight. Riz has found Orisa, and they've dropped those bongos. So they could be able to find the players they need to draw this fight out again.
Oh, but in a long, drawn-out fight, York is going to take it a little bit. They're getting the picks. The May's getting value.
They are absolutely getting the picks. Riz, though, drops Anna. And we're going to see another long fight. Now, Orisa, now a Lucio on point. It's just going to keep going and going.
But remember that Bournemouth has spawn advantage. Their spawn is really close. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to hold it, though.
Ooh, good healing there onto Jam Jam from the Moira Strebel. Again, though, York has complete dominance on this point.
It's just a matter of whether they're going to be able to kill the respawns fast enough to be able to get a good hold on the point.
And they've actually gotten everybody back now. So they have 6 players on this point. Bournemouth have to trickle out to keep contesting. I think York have got this at this point.
At this point, it's just a stall to see how much...
Oh, we've lost our feed.
We've lost our feed.
Very interesting. I imagine
it's looking like York's going to take it, though.
I imagine York won that fight, and they appear to be clapping, so I think that York did win that match. Very interesting there for us to lose our feed. Very funny.
But, I mean, the fight was basically decided at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you're trickling in, you're picking random things. We got play of the game here. Anna on this Reaper was very good from York.
Extremely instrumental in them winning this fight.
Yeah, look at this ult here.
I actually disagree with how Bournemouth has been running this Doomfist. In fact, you want to be taking the initiative, but they're letting York walk into them while they have the Doomfist.
I think it's because they're lacking that dominance in the mind game.
They need that confidence.
They need the confidence back. If they can get it, they can still win this. It's not a sure thing yet. Like, being able to be on the attack even when you're defending, being able to take those fights and set the pace of the game is going to decide the game.
And that's purely a mindset thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's very difficult to stay in an attacking mindset when you're literally defending.
The thing about doing what they're doing, though, is that you want, as a defender, you want to have the mindset that you're lucky to be taking these traits. So as a Doomfist, you want to be taking the initiative, because even if you trade your life 1-for-1, that you do sometimes as a Doomfist, it's good for you because you respawn so much faster than the enemy attackers do. And because of that, you're happy to be taking these one-on-one trades, these 2-on-2 trades. But Bournemouth was not doing that. They were sitting their Doomfist with the rest of the team, which I think is not the way to do it. You want the Doomfist setting up on an off-angle high ground.
It's a very passive style of play, which isn't going to be able to win them these fights.
Because in a long, drawn-out fight, like we saw, the May does take it, because the May gets value if she's allowed to freeze your team. The buff to the relatively recent buff to May, which allows her to freeze more than one target at a time, is so useful in a meta where you run Orisas that can pull teams together, and teams want to be grouped up because you have Moiras, you have Lucios, and you want to take advantage of that AoE healing. So against these lineups, May does get her value, and they need time to do that.
Now, this was Riz on the first point, and I really rated his play here. It did end up letting them come through, but York, obviously, very good ult economy on their defense. Even here, you see they've not overcommitted. They've committed just enough that they're able to dominate these fights.
Yeah, I have to say, York was caught between a rock and a hard place in that first point, because they were on the defense first, so Bournemouth had the initiative, because York can't go back to switch at that point. They've committed, they've locked themselves into a lineup. And with Reaper May, they know they're not killing the pharmacy, so instead of addressing it, they rush into the rest of Bournemouth. But the thing is that Bournemouth had a Baptiste that was able to keep the team just alive long enough that the pharmacy
to really get some good value there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So next we're going to be going onto an escort map. Now, this could be the final match here, and we're going to be going straight into that escort map now. And this could be it for York. They could tie this up here. They could set it up, and they could just win this before it even goes to the 5th map.
I do expect York to take this one, because I feel like they've been very strong on these escort maps. When they're able to take this amount of space, as you saw in Hanamura's second point, the moment you give them an inch of room, they're able to set up on a DPS that picks you off before you can even see what's coming.
Yeah, so Bournemouth are really going to have to get back in the saddle here. If they want to win this, they're going to have to sort their attitude out. They're going to have to feel like they can win it. They've got to take these fights, and they've got to commit to them. If you're going in, slowly trickling in, you're not going to win. You've got to feel like you are still good enough at the game to win these fights, even when you're down a match.
Yeah, exactly. I do like what they've done, which was to correctly identify that I think that they needed a change up in what they were running. They were not taking the mirror matchup well at all.
Yeah.
And when you can't beat them at their own game, you have to sort of try attacking them from a different angle. And their solution was to take a Doomfist, which was very good at picking off heroes before they get the chance to heal up from this burst healing or reposition with their mobility. But the problem is that I feel like when you do run that Doomfist, you want to be taking these fast explosive fights and use the power of the Doomfist in that pick-off potential.
Now, interesting lineups here. Bournemouth, again, going with Solis on that McCree. I rate it. It's a good pick. York here, they don't know he's on the McCree yet, and they've gone Farah Mercy.
Yeah, so they've done very well in scouting what they think York is going to be running.
So this McCree here could make all the difference in this first fight. And we're seeing it. He's already putting
Anna
pressure.
has no space to take this fight because the McCree is just zoning him off.
Yep.
Ball's going to go in and immediately get picked off. But Strebok going down is a huge loss for them.
Yep. Bournemouth here looking a bit shaky as York are putting those kills in. Tracer on that Hanzo. Again, those usernames, guys. Come on. Think about the casters. Have a bit of pity.
Exactly. I think they did this just to trip us up.
Yeah, I bet they did. So they're working on it, and this Anna on Farah. Again, thanks, guys. He's really being able to take a lot of space now. He's set up, and he's dropped them. That is huge play there.
Now
from
Bournemouth
York.
don't have the initiative anymore because now they have to walk into a fight that York have already set up.
Yeah.
And the thing about these long-range DPSs is that if they set up above you, there's very little the McCree can do without a sideline. They're just spamming these doorways, and Bournemouth are forced to walk into them, and they're just getting picked off.
Yeah, I mean, McCree is good into a Farah Mercy if he has time to get in position.
Precisely.
If he's caught coming out of spawn like this, what's he even going to be able to do?
Exactly, and Ball is just buying so much space for York.
And they've already taken first point. This fight, for them, arguably doesn't even matter, but it's about sending that message, and they really set up for holding
exactly.
second point.
It's just building ultimates and taking space, and they've done that expertly. And now Bournemouth, what they need to do is just come back as 6.
Yeah.
Recuperate.
Even if they had lost a couple of players on that push there, it wouldn't have mattered, because you give it a little bit of ult charge, but the fight for them had already been won because they'd already pushed it over the line.
Exactly, and the payload's still moving.
Yeah, payload's still moving. It's not stopped, basically, since the beginning of this game.
It's not.
Solis here picks up Doomfist, though, on that Baptiste. That could be really good for Bournemouth on this defense. Oh, lovely pick off there as well. I think we're seeing Bournemouth potentially start to turn this around. They've had a bit of time to reset. They've taken this fight very well. Can they continue this? Can they get another pick before this fight? If they could pick off that ball that's rolling around in their backline, or if you look just in the corner there, there's a Hanzo sneaking around in the back.
There's a Hanzo in the back line. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to pick him off, though.
If they had been, if they could pick him off right now, that would be huge for them. But
this is what York is so good at, is that they just have these annoying players in your backline, and you don't want to commit your team into taking them down, because you're not going to run your 6 players into the backline.
And then you lose your positioning.
Exactly.
And look at these ults from York. Huge amounts of ults. We've got that.
So Tracer's still in the backline. He's gotten the pick.
Yeah, he's gotten the pick. That's what we were saying. We were saying if he's not contested in that backline, he's going to pull something out in this fight. And that's probably going to be York taking this point.
And York just play these maps to perfection. They know the off angles they can set up in. They know their escape routes.
Beautiful play. I mean, individual skill, I think these teams are
closely matched.
They're so close. It was just down to that. I think it would be a coin flip every map. But
because look at the first map that they played. Because Control is more of a DM match, and Bournemouth actually took that one when it was a close brawl.
Yeah.
But when you give York the space to set up on these more open maps,
well, they've got these plays set up. You can see the gears turning as they're coming into the point. You can see what they're planning on doing about a minute before it happens.
And now they're just throwing in the Hanzo out so that Bournemouth don't have time to breathe.
Don't have time to breathe. Keep them on that back foot. Keep them panicked. That's what they want, and a huge ult here from Anna. on that Farah is probably going to reset them again, and they don't have time
They're just
to
holding
reset.
them at the spawn door while
Yeah.
the payload's still moving, uncontested.
This is beautiful play from York here. It's almost a bit like cyberbullying at this point.
It almost is, but
I mean,
York...
not to say that Bournemouth are not playing very well, but it's just the way that they're playing into them is so good.
But
here,
Bournemouth
though,
is going to be able to take
ooh,
this fight.
Beautiful fight there. Picking that many players up on that last point when you're being beaten down, that's no small feat. I think we're going to... Bournemouth here potentially resetting it, but look at it. Nobody's got any ults.
Yeah, so they committed every single one of their ults to take one fight from York.
Yeah. But York don't have any either, so it kind of worked out for them.
And York correctly think that they should be swapping off onto these heroes, onto May Reaper, back to double shield.
Back
because
to double shield. The
on this
classic
point,
double
it's
shield
much
from
more
this
difficult
meta.
to run the heroes they want to run, these long range
Yeah.
DPSs, because now Bournemouth have got the high ground. They've got these positions to hold.
And we all know how important the high ground is. It really lets you control these fights. And again, that May wall separating them off. And another one, it really changes the flow of these fights. Anna finds solace here. And that means that it's going to be a very close fight. Strebel picks up Anna. And this is still 5 on 5. Last point, no ult. It's just coming down to the wire here. And we're going to see better respawns though. Tracer picks up Jam Jam on Bournemouth, but they've been able to respawn, so it's 5 on 5 again.
Solas does get a pick though.
Yeah, after coming back out from spawn, if they can keep this up, Bournemouth can stall them out and potentially be able to win this fight.
Yep, the longer this fight goes, the more it benefits Bournemouth. And
Yep.
York are going to be forced out. They did get picked off once or twice. And
Oh.
it's getting staggered a little bit.
Lovely.
If Bournemouth can get the rest of these picks, it will be very good for them.
If Bournemouth could stagger just one more of them, that would be huge.
Nah, they're not gonna be able to.
No way at this point. But very good. Look at the ult charge on Bournemouth. They're really getting up there.
Yeah, Bournemouth is currently going to be 3 outs to 1 from the side of York.
Yeah. So if I'm York now, I'm wanting to build those ult charges, because if you take one fight, 6 ults on 6 ults.
You probably want to try to... You probably want to try and force out a couple of outs from Bournemouth here.
Yeah.
You want to be taking a dry push.
Yeah. So York coming in here now, again on that high ground. Bournemouth though, pretty good positioning here around the shield. We're seeing a May ult not connecting that much. The only person it finds is an Orisa who can just walk out of it. The Coalescence is coming out. Teams are almost reset on ults now. So this is going to be that dry push from York we were talking about, because the Coalescence runs out as they come in. And now we've got that supercharger. We're going to see if they can get anything from this.
They're very reluctant to pop this ultimate from Cloud though. They won't want to until York finally commits a resource onto them. But they are trickling ults out from Bournemouth while loading outs of their own. So York is going to come back into the next fight with a very strong ult economy.
Yeah, I think we're going to see 2 Sigma ults coming out in quick succession here as Jam Jam and Ball are both coming up. A May ult here, Cloud gets taken. First Sigma ult comes out. We're seeing York. Oh, it's still very close, but I think York have just pulled it out there. Yeah, it looks like they have a very good fight there. See, again, it was that drawing out those ults, and Cloud never got the opportunity to use it the way he wanted to. So he has that defensive ult, but because he's not got an opportunity to use it, it's functionally useless.
Yeah, and York just played that to perfection. They just baited out every single ult that Bournemouth had and then walked in with their own. They just bought time to build their own outs. I think Bournemouth just needs to be a little bit more aggressive with their ultimate usage.
But I mean, that was by no means a stomp, was it? I mean,
It was no means a stomp.
But 45 seconds is not much time. Bournemouth could easily push this back, and I think on the attack, having defended that well, I mean, they're probably still going to see it as a loss because they did lose on 3rd point. But holding for that long is quite impressive, really, when you think about how much they got rolled that entire map.
I was surprised that they were able to take the 3rd point back. I thought after both the DPS outs from York had been committed that they would just have no chance to retake the fight there, but they actually did.
So if they could stick with that kind of attitude, we could see them get a good time here. And if they can get all the way to 3rd point, it's still all up for grabs here for Bournemouth.
So York is going to be playing a far range composition. They're going to roll out on the defense, they're going to be taking high grounds, and they're going to be pulling Bournemouth from all sides.
When you said they were going to be playing long-range DPS, I thought you were talking about them playing the belts. Oh, man.
Yeah. So now we're going to see Bournemouth roll out on almost exactly a mirror comp.
Ooh, very fun Farah Mercy into
it is a
Farah
Miracom.
Mercy.
Yeah.
It is. It is exactly a Miracom.
I'm not sure if you
Oh,
want to be
no,
playing
not quite. No ball on Bournemouth.
Right, so they're going to be running the Orisa Sigma.
Now, they tried to hold very close here at York.
This is what York is so good at doing, though. They force teams to play to their tempo, but
Ooh, beautiful there.
and he gets the pick onto the Mercy, who was trying to go for the res.
That's huge. That's huge. This could be Bournemouth rolling this first point. If they can keep out, look, they've got the res as well.
They've got a
so
two-player
they're
advantage
6 into
here.
4. They're 6
Exactly.
into 4. If they can keep pushing, they can win this.
But they do need to get these picks before
They're
York is able to
they're
reset.
slowing down. They slowed down a lot here. They should have gotten another kill or two there.
The thing is that they don't have no catch. These lineups have no catch. You don't have a stun, and you have no way of. You have no Lucio, so you can't just engage really quickly into them.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Solus is just running amok in this map, though.
Yeah, if they can keep this up, if they can push that, not let that res come out, which could be disastrous for them, they could take this first point comfortably. But it's going to be a Farah Mercy duel. Demir picks off Mercy, but they've got that spawn advantage, so it's going to be difficult to declare this. Anna in the back line here, trying to do some damage on this Farah.
But Solus's aim on that Hanzo is just so good, keeping Farah out of the picture.
If they can pressure that Baptiste there, this is still a very close fight. It's very difficult to call. Tracer picks off Strebel there, but then goes down to Solus.
Yeah, it's very hard to call this fight because we have no idea who's going to come back a little bit quicker.
Who's going to come back a little bit quicker? Who's going to land that key headshot? They've spotted a Baptiste here. If they can finish him off, he's had to use his ult with practically nobody else there.
And Bournemouth is still very strong here with their positioning.
Yeah. Bournemouth's still very strong. York on that ball trying to stall them out. Solus takes out the Farah, but then gets taken out, but then gets res. So we're still seeing about 4 on 4 here. Tracer takes down Jam though, and that Baptiste field really came in handy there. Bournemouth though pushing in, they've got another 2 kills, but they're dropping some, but they've managed to push this. I think they've got it. I think they've secured that. That's a wonderful fight. Very back and forth.
Yeah, it's such a hard fight to think of because both teams have relatively the same spawn advantage there. So they have relatively the same amount of distance they have to walk by. But I think Bournemouth's lineup is just slightly stronger because they're able to plant their place on the point with a Sigma and Orisa.
Very good direct there.
So obviously Ball is a very good ball in his right, but because Bournemouth are playing this Sigma, they're able to stick on the point and say, this is ours, we're going to shield into you, and your DPSs are going to get less value than ours.
Ooh, Anna drops Riz there. If we can see a res, that could be good.
The res has been used, and it got no value.
Got no value. Solus does pick up Anna there. I think that's going to be a fight in York's favour, though, as they run them down. Bournemouth, though, are now stacking ults. They've used the Mercy ult in that fight, granted, but they got 3. They've almost got 5 coming up. And that's gonna put them on par with York.
Solus gets another pick onto Doomfist, and there is no res out from Cloud as he just... I mean, there's no res up from Mercy because he just used it.
Which means we've got a 5v6 coming up here. Bournemouth with the advantage here. They don't pick anything off with that pulse bomb, York. So they've used one of their ults. Ooh, that's unfortunate for Riz there. Solus picks up a Rissa, and Cloud has rezzed Riz. So we could be seeing this fight go in Bournemouth's way.
And Solus is just so good at picking off Anna. It's insane.
He's just setting this guy up to fail every time. He's running in and he's getting dropped by this Hanzo.
You wouldn't traditionally think that Hanzo's a counter to Farah, but when Solus is your Hanzo...
Yeah, clearly. And he's dropped the Orisa as well. Now, if we can see them finish... Oh, Solus dropping that ball before he was able to drop on the backline. This is very, very good for Bournemouth, and it's going to be doing wonders for how they're feeling at the moment.
Yep, exactly. They're outplaying York at their own game.
I thought we were going to be watching a tale of 2 Farahs, and Solus comes out of nowhere and just drops the other Farah. Drops Anna there.
We would like to see what Solus is doing there. These headshots must be nutty.
Yeah.
The ball's in the back line, going to try and stall a little bit, but I think York should give up this point. They should back out right now.
I don't think they should have sent that Orisa forward at all.
They're going to try and swap onto a composition that's going to counter this. They've brought out the McCree and they've brought out the Mei. They're going to try and slow down the tempo because they don't want Bournemouth to continue rolling them over.
Yeah, but Bournemouth, they have that momentum now. If they can keep it going, they can secure this. And look at the time left. 3.5 minutes to get on to start taking 3rd point. They could easily get this over without another fight going against them.
They've just swapped Ball away from the hand and back onto the Sigma, even though he had ultimate there. They just identified that we just need the Sigma a little bit more than we care about the Ball ultimate.
So,
Ooh. Cloud doesn't go down though, he survives that.
he survives that. That's crazy. And these ults in this corner, Solid picking off Anna, Jam picking off Ball. This is huge for Bournemouth. They've got that
4v6.
momentum. Oh, that's huge.
A huge ultimate coming out
That
from
is
Riz there,
huge.
going to be uncontested.
Fantastic play there. And Bournemouth taking back that momentum.
And it's like you said, you want them to play with confidence, and they've
And they-
beaten
and
York
they-
at their own game.
And they absolutely have. Winning that mirror is huge, because that means they know they can beat them at their own game. And look at the time remaining. Bournemouth easily
That
could be
was a
back
stomp.
into that. Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, York's attack, very good. Bournemouth's attack, that was something special.
So we want to see more of this coming out from both teams.
Yeah.
And now, because York knows that Bournemouth can play their game, it's going to be a little bit more mind games in terms of the compositions.
Yeah.
Because York could have done earlier, what they should have done is that they swap onto a double shield with a very strong
Yeah.
hit scan.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They took a mirror, which they were losing very, very convincingly on the side of
for
Bournemouth.
over half the map.
For over half the map.
So what we're going to be seeing here, York taking Tracer on Reaper. Oh god, I hate these team names. You
Hate
guys
these team
suck.
names.
But I think I want to see Bournemouth get back into this. I want it to go down to the final match, because that's what we're all here to see, some good games of Overwatch, and that's what these teams are giving us.
So Bournemouth are doing what I think they should do, which is run double shield with a long range DPS to take out what they expect to be the pharmacy from York. Which Solus has been so good at taking out the pharmacy.
Yeah, and they're not wrong. It's gonna come down to, can Solus find these shots? Can Riz keep that front line secured with his Maywalls?
So they're no longer going to run the Tracer and the Ball here. They're going to run Sigma and Reaper, hoping to have a stronger front line, but he's going to immediately get taken down by Cloud.
Yeah.
And now Bournemouth just need to plus forward, because they now have the player advantage. If they let York come back into this fight and get trades,
ooh, that's beautiful.
And they are picking up.
Look at this. That's them pushing that entire way back to their spawn
And
doors.
they are playing with confidence, like you said. That is precisely what they need to do. The moment you get a pick, you can't be scared to press forward.
Yeah. If you can keep pushing, you can pick up another kill and another kill.
Because if York is able to find a trade there, they're going to win the fight eventually because of the spawn advantage. So they need to take this quick fight. And now they swapped off the pharmacy onto Lucio and
Bournemouth
McCree.
controlling this fight with a good Maywall here. Solis uncontested on that high ground. If he can pick somebody off here, this could be huge. York and Bournemouth, oh, beautiful play from Bournemouth there. As they secure that high ground, they keep Solis in the game. They use this ult to secure the fight.
And
They
that's
might
gonna be
as
the
well.
round.
That's going to be the round. Unless we see somebody come back very quick.
And there is no way that York hold the payload this close to the spawn for 3 minutes.
For 3 minutes.
In 3 minutes, Bournemouth could build 6 ultimates.
Yeah. 3 minutes, Bournemouth could build 6 ultimates or wait until they make 2 mistakes. That's all
They
it
can
takes.
run anything they want with an EMP and they will win.
Yeah. 3 minutes to walk it, what, a meter? That's crazy.
Well, the screen is saying 14.53.
I want to take Blizzard to task for this, right? That's not 14 meters. Look at that. Look at that tiny distance there. I mean, it's not a meter, granted, but that's not 14 meters, surely not.
Well, just goes to show how much of a stomp that was in Bournemouth's favor. They played that to perfection. New York was going to try and roll up with a DPS setup, and they had the Hanzo ready to shut down anybody not playing behind a shield. And you can only do that if your Hanzo is as good as Solus is, because even if you run a Hanzo and the enemy is not playing behind the shield, if you can't hit the shots on the people not hiding behind the shield, then your Hanzo is useless.
Yeah,
but Solus is just so good.
If you've got enough confidence in your Hanzo and your teammates have enough confidence in you to know that you'll get those picks, that's what you've got to work with that.
Because basically what the Hanzo does is that he nullifies the pharmacy. Yeah. So the rest of the team can take the rest of the fight 5v4.
5v4, which, I mean, it's just a pure numbers game. But it's going to be... York can't afford to lose anyone here. So this is going to be a very difficult fight for them. They're in that tiny little room.
They're playing a close composition. They're running the Mei and they're running the Baptiste.
Riz and Cloud on Bournemouth have switched onto Farah Mercy here, correctly observing that they haven't got anything to deal with them. So if they just keep him in that room, keep throwing damage out at them, they could just keep...
York is going to stall out as much time as they can without having to engage. force out resources from Bournemouth and take this fight. So the Immortality field does come down really early, and York is getting early picks, but Bournemouth just answer back immediately.
Beautiful, beautiful. He's just, if we could see that Farah in a bit, he just flies in through the back room and just wipes them out. That's huge for Bournemouth. And it takes us to game 5.
And just look at how happy the confidence is 100% back.
Yeah, you got to be happy with that performance. That was an absolute stomp. And after we've basically spent the last however long talking about how good York is, to see Bournemouth pull that back to really take themselves and just reassess how the games are going and put it back in their favour, that's huge.
That has to be a huge mentality win for them as well. Yeah. Now they know that they can fight York at their game, so they won't be scared. They won't continue to try running the standard double shield into a DPS composition. They know that if they were to swap into their own DPS composition, they would be able to beat that.
Well, because now they're switching on to proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly, and that's what we wanted them to do this entire time. They needed to take the initiative.
I mean, we were talking about how good this York push was, and Anna was very clean, but Bournemouth in this map, I think this must just be their map or something like that. Or they've really found something. They've dug deep and found something important.
Yeah, I think it's more the latter, where they really figured out what can work for them against what York is running, because I feel like no other team in NSE plays like York does.
Yeah. But yeah, look, this is the Farah ult we were talking about, where he's just come in from the back and he just dropped a lot of damage down on them. So a beautiful, beautiful game there from Bournemouth, and it's taking us 2-2, so we're all tied up here.
Yeah, so we're going to see a final tiebreaker map, and this is going to be Control, and Lijiang cannot be picked again. So we're going to see a different Control map, either Nepal or Oasis, and on both these maps, we can see some very unique lineups. Lijiang has been practiced to death by everybody.
Because you never expect it to go to game 5, do you?
Well, sometimes you do, but the thing is that when you scrim, or when you practice, the first map that everybody asks for is Lijiang. That's your warm-up map. So you end up playing Lijiang every scrim. So the compositions that we see on Lijiang are very set in stone. Whereas on this 5th Control map, either Nepal or Oasis, which York is going to get to pick, we can see a lot of innovation, because Oasis is traditionally a Farah map.
And York get to pick it. For this final map, York have the choice.
But they must be in the biggest dilemma right now, because they thought they could win on DPS maps. So in their head, they're thinking they want to play Oasis, which is a Farah, a Widow, Hanzo map, because of all these long open sidelines, the way Farah plays around the geography of Oasis really well. But now that Bournemouth have shown that they can fight them toe-to-toe on these compositions, I'm not so sure if they want to pick that.
Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult. We'll find out after the break. Thanks very much.
Is to defy convention and challenge expectations. So Intel will bring the processing power for when it's time to go. Brilliant. Frame rates that keep up with your reflexes. Brilliant. Fast clock speeds for when you're on the clock. Brilliant. It's what we do at Intel, powering you to master your potential. Will you rise? Intel. Unleash your brilliance.
We've made it to Insomnia 65 for our Belong Arena Clash Finals. We've got Mortal Kombat, Rocket League, FIFA, Overwatch, and League of Legends. 5 titles up for grabs and players from all over the country competing. It's time to find out who's going to take those trophies home.
Playing up on stage, the atmosphere was amazing. The crowd beneath you, the lights flaring, the rumbling of the sound effects. Not only were you playing the game, but you could feel the game. You could feel the energy.
I love every minute of every Overwatch season within Clash. The fact that you get to play the game that you love, make some new friends. It's such a great feeling being on the stage. You know, you get the crowd supporting, the crowd cheering. I'd recommend it to anyone.
Arena Clash is an absolutely fantastic way to get into esports. It's a good foot in the door. Doesn't matter where you go, be it Teesside, London, Glasgow, anywhere like that, everybody's got the same welcome experience.
This season has been so much fun. Just to go to Belong and developing a friendship with your teammates is really the best thing. I've loved every minute of it.
What an awesome weekend of games it has been. We had our London Lionheart winning 2 titles for themselves across this weekend. The Spartans, back-to-back Overwatch champions now as well. But also, the winter season has been announced. And make sure you're entering yourselves as well. Get to your local arena and get involved in the action.
Nobody likes being left out. That's why Special Effect are helping people with physical disabilities to play video games. But this isn't just about having fun. The gaming setups we create are personalized, so people can play to the very best of their abilities. And that opens the door to inclusion and independence, confidence and creativity. Help us level the playing field and create more magical gaming moments. Because it's everyone's turn to play.
Introducing Intel Performance Maximizer. Available exclusively from Intel for use with select unlocked 9th Gen Intel Core processors. It's an application that makes it easy to get overclocked performance out of your system. Intel Performance Maximizer analyzes your processor's unique performance potential, gauging how it works best inside your PC. From this, it automatically determines how much you can reliably turn up the speed. Overclocking can help your PC deliver great results, like more frames per second when gaming, or shorter render times when creating video or animation. Intel Performance Maximizer also continuously monitors your processor, adjusting your overclock to enable great performance for the long haul. Overclock today with Intel Performance Maximizer to get the most out of your PC and enjoy more of what you love.
Hello and welcome back to this, the fifth and final match here between York and Bournemouth in the Overwatch Winter Finals. Now, we're going to be going on to a control map for the fifth map, but Lijiang cannot be selected, so it's got to be either Nepal or Oasis. We're not sure on the pick yet, but Soge, you were talking to me in the break about what we thought was going to be the fifth map before that last map went Bournemouth's way.
Yeah, so before the last map went Bournemouth's way, if you told me in a vacuum, before we came into this matchup, asking me what map York would pick last if between Nepal and Oasis, I would have immediately said Oasis because I thought, York would want to take advantage of the long sidelines, run a Pharah, run a Widow, run a Tracer, run a Ball, because Oasis is just so much more appropriate to be running these compositions. But with everything that's gone on, Bournemouth has shown that they can play that game.
Yeah, Bournemouth and better. On Dorado, they made York look like an absolute garbage mountain. The amount they were throwing at them was insane. Being able to take what they were losing on before, turn it around, and show that not only can they match them at their own game, but that they can beat them at it, that's huge. And going into this last map, they've got that energy.
I want to say something, though. Now, I expect Nepal to be picked by York here because the thing about Bournemouth is that I've not seen them run Ball consistently. They only do it as a stall tool, and Nepal is Ball's best map, and that is exactly what we're going to see here. And Ball, or Jimbo, he's going to get to run amok on this Ball because Ball is so good on Nepal. It's probably his best map in all of Overwatch.
But then again, this isn't a bad map for Pharah Mercy.
It's
you
not.
can get a lot done on Farah Mercy here.
But I expect to see both teams run double shield into this map.
Yeah, yeah.
Into Village is probably going to be May Reaper, but after that, Ball is super, super good on the entirety of Nepal.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we're going to see from both teams.
Yeah. So, mirror matchups here going into this, the final map. First round though, so we're going to see them test in the waters a bit, see what they can do.
So much is going to go into who caps the point first, because I think there was a statistic where the team that wins the map is the team who caps the point first 70% of the time.
Well, it's not a game that you win with kills, it's a game you win with objective control.
Exactly.
So you've got to pay attention to it, so we're going to see them rolling out here. Now, this is going to be a close fight. This first fight, no ults, completely dry. We're seeing Bournemouth making their way to point, first of all. Same with York. They're going to be competing on this corner here. This is going to be a difficult fight for them to take. York locking them out, but Bournemouth, again, that May wall, so valuable.
Yeah, both May walls going to go down, so now May walls are down for this fight, and Solus is going to get caught off on the sideline.
That's unfortunate. That's a bit bad positioning from Solus's part. He wasn't with the team, and that's probably going to be York running this.
Yeah, he didn't back off fast enough there. He needed to identify that the rest of the team had rotated without him.
Well, that's good communication from York there, because they were able to identify that he was out of position and collapse on him with everything.
Exactly. So it's a bit on Solus, but good call by York to identify that he was alone there on the side. And
well,
then
if you
once,
can re-engage,
once one player goes down,
yeah.
you take a 6v5 and it's a mirror.
Yeah. If you can run that down with the Lucio, that's huge.
And now York is just going to sit back and put damage into Bournemouth until they have to rotate to point, which they do now.
Yeah, ball drops Demir, Bournemouth down again, so it's a 6v5 from this point onwards, and that's going to be difficult for Bournemouth to get out.
And these walls by Tracer have just been so good in blocking what Bournemouth want to do with these rotations. Yeah. And this wall from Riz is to basically just slow down any staggers that York are looking for, but York get one anyway on Riz.
Yeah, that rundown, very good. Very tight, very tidy.
Every second they buy here is percentage on that control point though. And Bournemouth is running out of time.
Yeah. I mean, it's already up to 50% here. Bournemouth don't have the ult. York don't really either, but they've got the position.
York is going to be blindsided.
Oh, they're not expecting them coming out the top. I mean, we weren't expecting that.
Yep, they're going to rotate to point immediately, knowing their shields are out of position.
Immediately lose that high ground advantage. Bournemouth on the attack here. Let's see if they can make something happen. They've got to try and get a pick here.
York probably want to engage early with his May ultimate, but they're not going to do so yet. They get a really good wall.
Yeah. Oh, and we've had Bournemouth drop their ult. That's good ult here from Bournemouth. They might be able to clear this up if they can keep them alive. Oh, Riz gets dropped there. So does Demir. Solis picking up Orisa and a drop Solis though. I think that's going to go in York's favour.
Yep, it does go in York's favour, but it costed them quite a bit. Both the DPS ult and the Mongos being dropped there, but York still having 3 ults to go for the next fight.
Carrying 3 ults through, that's huge. This is going to be the last fight. If they even get a full fight here, they've got a touch.
The thing is that Cloud uses ult in the last fight, and like I said, the discrepancy in Lucio
they might not even touch. They're not going to touch.
And York just so clean with the mirror execution.
Yeah. Now that's going to be difficult, and it's only the first round, but that's hard to come back from because that was very.
It puts
dominant.
them in the driver's seat for the rest of the match. Yeah. Because now Bournemouth in the back of their heads, they're thinking, oh my goodness, if we lose this.
Oh my god, we're choking. We're choking after the comeback. That's what they're feeling. And we're going to see Solis on that McCree again. York hovering Soldier there. I think we all know he's not going with that.
There's no way. Soldier's so bad in this matter.
Well, he's just got nothing he can do. And
I'm surprised to not see Ball running Hammond here because this is Ball's best map.
Yeah.
This is Ball's best map. If you're ever going to run Ball, now's the time to do it. But I think he's worried that Bournemouth are going to roll out with a counter Ball composition, which they have.
Yeah.
They're expecting to see the Ball. They're expecting to see a DPS lineup. That's why they're running out with the McCree and the May, because this does get rolled over by a Reaper May, which is exactly what York is running. So the mind games coming up from both these teams are just insane at the moment.
Well, it's a bluff on top of a double bluff on top of another bluff.
Exactly, so York expecting Bournemouth to expect their DPS composition is running out in standard.
Yeah, and York here taking the point using that May wall to really set themselves up here. But huge wall from Bournemouth here. Huge wall. Look at how they had to force them to not take that fight. And they've killed 2 people, but they're going to lose point if they're not careful.
Oh, and they have lost point, but Bournemouth have the initiative here still.
That is a nightmare scenario. When you are 6-4 up and you still lose point, because now that those 4 players, they can play slow. They don't have to die that quick. And look at that, they've managed to get an extra 15% out of them easily. That they didn't deserve to have any of.
Exactly.
They'd lost the fight, but because Bournemouth weren't focused on taking that point as quickly as possible, York steal 14% on a fight they lose.
Yep, that's a 15% that Bournemouth could have had instead. That's a 30% swing.
Yeah.
In York's favor. So now York are going to try and re-engage with the exact same fight.
Yeah, they're making their way in here, very close together. Huge pull here, could set them up that wall. Potentially not very clean there. York looking to find something. The Coalescence is both out here. Bournemouth getting a little bit more value out of it, but nobody's dropped just yet. This is good for Bournemouth. If they can keep this going, they could be fine. Jam finds Mercy. That's a huge pick, getting their main healer there.
The sound barrier coming out for Bournemouth is probably going to help them clean up the rest of this fight.
Well, they've dropped their main tank as well.
Oh, they're getting split up though. The main wall coming out.
This is very difficult. York here, Aritha putting in huge work before going down to Struble. But again, because it's about who controls that objective, they're still ticking up. They're at 50% now.
Both the supports just stalling out here. They know they've lost this fight, but they're just stalling for percentage.
And that's huge. Look at that, 56%. That's huge. But what I think they were trying to get there was Anna on the Reaper get their ult out of them, and they didn't. If they'd gotten that ult there for them to claim that point, that would have been huge and would have absolutely set this up for Bournemouth.
I feel like Solace needed to swap there. I don't think this McCree is going to work out, especially now that he doesn't have the initiative anymore. He has to walk into York, which is not exactly what you want to be doing as
He has
McCree.
to walk into York on the high ground while he's
He's
trying
going to look for
find a
this
way to
off angle, did I though? Get a pick maybe?
Ooh.
No! That's so close there. If he had gotten that pick, he could have turned the fight for them. But now he doesn't, and
He's
now
high
the team knows.
nooned. He's not going to find anything with that high noon, but
It's just
Struble
getting
picks
York
off
to
Anna.
disengage though.
Struble picks off Anna though, that's huge.
Yeah, not having a Reaper into this fight is just insane because Reaper is one of the best heroes.
And we've got that supercharger out as well. Our screen has gone black here, so we're going to have to go with what we think is happening. Oh, we're back.
And now Bournemouth is just cleaning up. They got the initial pick.
Yeah, Struble managing to find that value with the Coalescence. Oh, but they've still not actually won this fight yet.
They're just stalling out there.
Eking out those extra points though. It's really worth it for them. Bournemouth here, they've got the mail, which is really good for defending this point, but York are coming into it with that Reaper ult still.
And Coalescence is so good in this current meta. You're just able to engage from so far away and put in so much damage, and it goes through all the shields as well.
Coming in from the side here. Now, this is going to put a lot of pressure on Riz, because he needs to get a good wall to stop the Coalescence being too good, and he's got to get a huge Blizzard here. He's dropped the Blizzard. He's not really caught anyone with that. Oh no, he has. Look on the steps. He's killed two people. This is a very good fight for Bournemouth. If they can keep this up, they can really propel themselves forwards. Oh, a beautiful sound barrier there. Completely nullifies what this Reaper's trying to do. And that's a very clean fight from Bournemouth, and that's going to steal the round for them.
Cloud almost went down there actually while popping that. If he had gone down, York might have been able to win that fight back, but
they've got to kill this ball at this point.
It's so hard to kill him with the heroes they have though.
Yes. But with the wall, you can stop him. This is what we were saying earlier. And if they just lock these guys out for these last couple of seconds, it's a beautiful map from Ball there.
It looks as if Bournemouth value York not being able to play Tracer Ball more than they care about running what they want to run.
Yeah, I mean, I rate that personally, but we're going to be going into really close quarters fighting here for this final map. We've gone right down to the wire. This is as close as it could be.
The tiebreaker of the tiebreaker.
Yeah, the tiebreaker of the tiebreaker. At this point, it's so close. Both these teams are fantastic.
I'm hoping Ball just rolls out with this ball right now because at this point, like, you have to run it because Nepal is one of Ball's best maps and it is what he's good at. It's what he's comfortable on. It's what York has been running all this time.
It's what he's named after.
It's what he's named after.
Yeah. And if you can get a good knockoff on this map, you can just win fights that you had no right to win.
At this point, I think you need to play to your comfort, and I think that's what York is going to do here. But Solace has swapped off the McCree because, like you said, it is a close quarters map-ish. Yeah. And they're going to take Dark Room immediately.
Pushing onto that point, forcing them to fight. But York here, they have the point, but Bournemouth have a more defensive position.
Both teams can play sidelines though. Neither have to peek particularly much.
Yeah, but York, they are on the point.
Ooh, that's a really good wall, catching out 4 members. But the counter wall is going to come out.
That's a huge counter wall. I don't think we're going to see
Ball's
anything.
Trapped inside the room. He might go down here.
Oh, he's on a wall. Oh, he lives on 50 HP. And York, they have point now.
And now Ball's going to go back behind.
And he's going to knock
all of them out.
He gets Riz. That's huge. Solis takes out Orisa, but it's not going to be enough. I think York are going to take this fight off of them not losing ball there.
Ball has just won them this fight. Oh, he rolls himself off the map, but his work is done. He's done his job.
He's done his job, and York have secured that. Now, it's exactly what we were saying. They took the objective, and Bournemouth, they had the better defensive position, but they're not on point, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because you have to be on point to win the game.
Yeah.
And what Ball did there was just insane. He knows their win condition.
Absolutely. I mean, coming back round after dropping to 50 HP on Ball when he was on 800 HP, that's huge. And he's taken that big health kit. That's actually pretty important.
And
here.
Bournemouth are going to roll out the exact same way. And Solis is just, his job is just to keep Ball away from his team. But it's not going to work because Ball is so much faster than him.
A good set of mines here could be lethal.
He drops in a room. They're not going to be able to play there.
Takes out Strebel. That's huge. Those mines, outrageous. Ball is really taking advantage of what he can do on this
He's
map.
running this map. There's a reason why everyone calls this Ball's best map. And he is showing us why that is.
Bournemouth are stacking a lot of ults here. They're coming in with 4, maybe 5 ults. We can see them take the point, but I don't know what they're going to do after that.
If I was Bournemouth, I would have called a swap onto the McCree or something and taken the right side where they can hold a high ground. But they're just constantly running into this dark room where Ball just runs amok the moment that you have to face York's core on the point. Now,
we got an ult coming out here. This could be good.
They're expecting it. The support's back down.
Jam Jam does take down Anna though, so both Reapers are down, so the teams are 5v5. Streamer picks up Ball here. This could be very good for Bournemouth as they're walking in. Oh, Doomfist finds Dimir though.
They're just stalling out time into one fight territory. I don't think York thinks they're going to win this, but Bournemouth have to commit resources or they're going to lose this fight.
Yeah. So this makes it a very good fight for York to take. Bournemouth have to commit to win this fight, and then it's going to be an uphill battle for them anyway.
Exactly, they're
Even
forcing
though
out
they win.
ultimates. They're forcing out all these ultimates from Bournemouth that they don't want to be using.
Bournemouth aren't even finding any kills with those ults.
They
Solis,
finally
though,
get a
does
pick onto Orisa.
Yeah, picking up that Orisa is very good. Solis on this Tracer, unexpected. Ooh.
If I was York, I would stop feeding ultimates right now.
Yeah.
You've gotten your 99%. Like, Ball does not need to be here. That's another 600 HP of ultimate he's fed them.
Yeah, charging these extra ults.
Like, there's no point in them taking this long to die. Because it's already 99%, you're just feeding them HP at this point.
York, though, looking better on their ult charge. All we've got is that Tracer, and Solis isn't there. So he's going to have to get back, and he has to find value with this sticky bomb.
If they're going to continue playing in Dark Room, Tracer's ult might just destroy them. You're just looking for Riz to be able to block the sideline of the Mei ultimate, because it does not freeze you if there's no line of sight to the blizzard that she throws.
Which can make all the difference here. We're going to see some ults coming out. Solis has got to find somebody with this to be able to set this up for Bournemouth to be able to
Bournemouth
hold.
need a pick.
Bournemouth need a pick.
And the wall's been really good. They've isolated both the tanks.
They've lost Jam Jam though. And this is looking like York's fight to win. They're dropping people one after one. Look, they're taking the point and they've locked them out. There's nothing they can do. This match is going to go to York, and that's going to be the final.
Yep, York takes it.
Congratulations to York there. An outstanding final performance from both teams. I don't think we could have asked for better matches.
No, we couldn't have. Going into the 5th round of going into the tiebreaker of the tiebreaker map. The third.
That shows
map 3 of a best of 3.
Yeah.
And
that shows how close these teams were, that it went down to the absolute last moment. And I think you've got to hand it to both teams. They put up an amazing fight. Unfortunate for Bournemouth there, fantastic for York.
Yep. Bournemouth still, they can be proud of what they've done here. They were the closest team to figuring out York. And I think you can see it on the screens there. They're just saying, one fight away, guys.
It really was. It was really that one fight. If they'd managed to find a pick, they would have had it, I think.
Exactly.
That's what it's come down to.
But York just showing that they're more adaptable. And I think their set strategy that they had for that point on the pile,
with the ball coming back through. But then if they'd managed to get that last 50 HP off that ball, we could have seen a completely different map.
Precisely. And had that ball gone down on first fight.
Yeah, if that ball had gone down on first fight, we could be talking about Bournemouth as the winners here. It's so close. That's pretty much what it's come down to. 50 HP on one hero. That's crazy. That's exactly what you want to see from a tournament. And these guys have given us some fantastic matches to cast. So, moving forward here, what do you think that York and Bournemouth need to do? Because I think York are in a very comfortable position. I think Bournemouth, they're a fantastic team. I think.
Oh, and we see the medals coming out.
Ah, very nice. Congratulations, guys. I think the thing that I would say to Bournemouth is that you've gotta try and keep your momentum, because they had it in that first map. If they'd been able to catapult themselves, they could have stolen this.
I think the thing that was to their disadvantage is that it took them 2 maps to figure out York.
Yeah.
You could tell in map 4 they had figured them out, and in map 5, I think York, their set strategies just took advantage there. But if Bournemouth had another map to figure out York and to run their strategies on a different type of map, then I reckon we would have had a very, very close fight. So, I mean, next semester we're heading into a completely different meta if what we think.
A whole new world.
A whole new world.
These teams could both go out immediately.
We could see completely different teams taking. I mean, these teams are strong in their own right. I'm sure they'll be able to adapt.
Yeah.
They're good at running double shield. They're good at running DPS comps.
And it's all about that teamwork as well. It's a 6-man game, Overwatch. It's not 1v1s.
Exactly.
It's about that team ethos. I mean, you see them all standing there, trying to make their way down far enough to stand for a team picture. But it's that camaraderie, that teamwork that can really put that team over the edge. And I'm not saying that Bournemouth didn't have it. I'm sure they have it in spades. But I think York have really shown that they can come back from being behind to win.
Because there's a lot of team synergy and trust, because you might think the fight's going back, but if your primary shot caller, usually the Lucio or the Orisa, says, we're going in,
you're going in.
You have to trust them. You have to go in.
And if you go in, and I think that's what we saw when we saw that that 6v4 that Bournemouth pulled off.
Exactly.
Like, they managed to come back and get extra ground. That's what separates teams in these top fights from other teams.
And this is Anna just cleaning up on Bournemouth after the initial pick came through. These walls have been super insane by both mains.
And this was yeah, we haven't talked as much about the Mei's kills, but the Mei positioning has been huge, and this was the ult that really sealed this for York in my mind.
Yeah, I want to point out, you remember when you said that Ball lived on 50 HP in the first fight? The only reason he did is because his own Mei, Tracer, walled him off from Bournemouth, so Bournemouth couldn't get to him because of Tracer's wall.
Yeah. And fantastic play from all of these players. I don't think there's anybody where you could point to them and say that they messed up.
No, you could not. Every player played so well. All of them did all their jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
I think anything that we could talk about comes down to a team as a whole.
Yeah.
Making decisions together as a team that may not have been correct at the time. Like I said, Bournemouth not taking initiative when they went on to Doomfist, for example.
Yeah. I mean, it's about staying aggressive, and it's about staying together as a team. There's no point taking a fight that you're going to lose unless you have to take it, because you're going to be reset anyway.
Precisely.
So you've just got to keep going. And that's what really set this game. That's what set the pace, and that's what set up the winners in the end, York. Being able to just consistently move into the enemy team and take the space, set up for plays that they've clearly practiced a lot. Like, these aren't simple plays.
These are not.
They're working to a set plan, and they're executing it almost flawlessly every time.
These are strategies that you see in contenders or even Overwatch League. So these players have done their homework. They've watched the VODs. They've watched their enemies. They know what to expect, what to run, how to counter certain compositions. And we saw all of that today. We saw the DPS composition. We saw the double shield with Mei Hanzo. We saw the double shield with Standard, where you see Doomfist Reaper or Mei Reaper. And these teams, they're just so flexible, and they figured out each other and how they want to run and how they want to dictate the pace of the game.
Yeah. And setting that pace has been so valuable for both of these teams. So, thanks everybody for watching. I've been Huge Horse.
I've been So Geeking.
Thank you for joining us for the Overwatch Winter Finals for NSE. Thanks very much. Have a good day. Enjoy Rainbow Six coming up next.
Brilliant is to defy convention and challenge